Chapter 292. Not only was the interior of the solitary extinguishing heaven and earth staff shaking, but even the main body of the solitary extinguishing heaven and earth staff in front of Yang Kai and the others in the Elder Hall was shaking. The ground where the staff had been inserted suddenly cracked. The cracks spread out in all directions. What happened? Sect Master told us to guard this place. Don't worry about it for now. Qin Wu Yin and Yang Kai said one after another, their auras erupting and stabilizing the cracked ground. In the heavenly pond, the nine-colored egg had already absorbed 50 billion glory baht. Even Lin Yu couldn't help but feel overjoyed. If you can't do it, don't force yourself. You've reached your limit. Lin Yu spoke again. His forehead was now dripping with sweat. Refining such a huge amount of glory baht in such a short period of time was also a great consumption for him. The moment the storm formed, the little monkey and the eight-winged monster emperor python instinctively trembled and felt awe. And this feeling came from their own child, the nine-colored egg. 60 billion, 80 billion, 100 billion. After 3 days and 2 nights, the storm of glory energy finally stopped. The glory energy refined from the 100 billion glory baht had been completely exhausted. Lin Yu exhaled. The nine-colored egg was no longer shaking. Pressing his hand on it again, Lin Yu felt that the vitality inside was much stronger than the first time. He nodded with satisfaction. It's in good condition. There's no need to give it your strength anymore. Lin Yu said to the little monkey and the monster emperor python. After settling everything down, he left the heavenly pond. Outside the fog, Mei was still waiting for him. When she saw Lin Yu come out, she looked at him as if he was crazy. 100 billion glory baht. Was it worth it? Lin Yu shrugged. It was worth it. The things inside the nine-colored egg had already exceeded Lin Yu's understanding. Race extermination and ancient great monster. It didn't seem to belong to these two categories. Not only did it not belong to these categories, Lin Yu was sure that it had surpassed these two categories. All right. Mei was a little helpless. She felt that Lin Yu was too wasteful. For a new sect, the glory bait was the foundation. However, Lin Yu was the emperor of the low-key sect. Even if he sold the low-key sect, it was his right to do so. You'll know in the future. I'm going out. I want to go out too. Mei sensed the auras of the little monkey and the demon python emperor. Their auras have already recovered. It seems that I don't need to guard this place anymore. Lin Yu nodded tacitly, and the two of them left at the same time. When they reappeared, they were already in the Elder's Hall. Looks like you've gained a firm foothold in the inner region. Mei observed the luxurious and grand palaces around her. She did not need to guess to know that this was a quasi-emperor level sect. To be able to receive such treatment meant that Lin Yu's status had already been recognized by a quasi-emperor level sect. Before Lin Yu could speak, Yang Kai, Qin Ji, and the others, who had been waiting for a long time, immediately came up to greet him. Sect leader, what's going on inside? Qin Ji asked first. It's settled. Next, we just have to wait. They saw a rare look of anticipation in Lin Yu's eyes. The 10 of them looked at each other and were all shocked. Lin Yu did not often have such an expression. Only Mei knew that something worth 100 billion dazzling baht. How could she not look forward to it? Sect leader, it's time for the arranged battle with Zhang Lingyi. Qin Ji said with some worry. The sect leader of the profound heaven sect and the people of the Elder's Hall, as well as the holy maiden of the floating life demon sect, Yin Xiao Xiao, have visited one after another these 2 days. They seem to want to persuade sect leader to give up. But knowing that sect leader had returned to the low-key sect, I refused to see them one by one. Only the sect leader of the profound heaven sect asked me to give this to you. Qin Ji handed over a letter. After opening it, Lin Yu smiled faintly and put it away. Sect leader, you haven't finished reading it? Qin Ji asked in surprise. Lin Yu smiled. I just wrote about Zhang Lingyi's cultivation method, battle physique, and some guesses about the flaws. Qin Ji and the others were stunned. Aren't these very important things for the battle? Why didn't you read it? I already knew, and some of the things in the letter are wrong. Qin Ji and the others all smiled, as if they remembered that Lin Yu seemed to know all the secrets from the beginning. Zhang Lingyi's secrets could not be hidden from him. Lin Yu said casually and walked out of the hall. Okay, get ready to go. After the 12 people of the low-key sect stepped into the air and got on the cosmic obliteration staff. Inside the profound sect, a warship also rose into the air. Sect leader, something's wrong with this trip. Zhang Lingyi and Madame Bodhi from the Bodhi sect are not easy to deal with. They set the location of the battle in the Bodhi sect. There's something wrong with this, Qian Dalong said as he stood in front of the warship. Sigh, it's a pity that Master Lin doesn't listen to me. When I saw him, I also said a lot, but he seemed to have made up his mind. Mu Zhan shook his head helplessly, but his tone deliberately made it clear that he had seen Lin Yu. This sentence already made Qian Dalong's face darken. One had to know that they had not even seen Lin Yu's face in 3 days. That kid has his own opinions. Black Heaven Sect's voice interrupted them. As for Madame Bodhi, based on my understanding of her, whether Lin Yu can make it to the Bodhi sect alive is still a question. This time, Black Heaven Sect was personally escorting the profound sect. At the same time, Qian Dalong and Mu Zhan were accompanied by hundreds of invincible realm experts. This was already considered an extremely formal lineup of the profound sect. No wonder sect leader came personally. Qian Dalong's fat face was serious. But if Madame Bodhi really does make a move, with our strength, we may also be caught in a fierce battle. Is it worth it? What he meant was that if 2 great quasi-emperor sects fought because of Lin Yu, the losses would be terrifying. In Qian Dalong's opinion, if it was only because of one Lin Yu, this might be a losing business. Master Lin, it's worth it. Black Heaven Sect did not say anything. The one who answered Qian Dalong was Si Shaoxian. At this moment, Si Shaoxian was clearly unhappy with this sentence. Qian Dalong was good at reading people's expressions, so how could he not see it? Eldest Miss is right. He wiped the sweat from his forehead. In front, Lin Yu and the others sat on top of the extinguishing heaven and earth staff. At this moment, the staff was not moving very quickly. This was Lin Yu's arrangement. Sect leader, are you worried that there will be trouble on the way? I've asked around about Madame Bodhi. Her personality is extremely stable, especially for the sake of her son's safety. I'm afraid that she will attack our sect leader on the way. Qin Wunyan and Qin Ji said one after the other. Lin Yu smiled faintly. If she doesn't plan to attack me, why set the location of the battle at the Bodhi sect? He looked at the pitch-black star domain. It seems that it's about time. Just as Lin Yu finished speaking, 5 auras suddenly appeared in the void in front of him. Lin Yu die. The 5 of them spoke in unison. Although they did not have the aura of the Law Realm, the weakest among the 5 of them had a cultivation of 700 Tao Force Grand Supreme Realm. Chapter 293. The sudden interception caused a few from subtle sect to frown and stand up vigilantly. Sect Master, there's something strange ahead. The Bodhi sect has made their move. Several hundred feet behind, Black Tianzong raised his hand. Speed up. However, at the same time, the space in front of their warship suddenly shattered. 3 auras broke through the crack and descended, directly enveloping the profound sect's warship. Mayor, you haven't changed at all. Black Tianzong looked up solemnly. The 3 newcomers were Madame Bodhi and 2 Bodhi sect protectors. Their auras were at least 900 Grand Supreme stage, and Madame Bodhi was at the peak of first heaven of the Law Realm. As soon as she appeared, the entire warship seemed to be blocked by an invisible hand, unable to move forward at all. You've changed. You're getting weaker and dumber. I can't believe you've chosen to help Lin Yu. Madame Bodhi looked down coldly. Black Tianzong's aura was slightly weaker than hers. It must be because he had lost a lot of cultivation during the chaos caused by Si Junlin. None of this could be hidden from her. Lin Yu's path is destined to be longer than yours and mine. Black Tianzong smiled and said in a loud voice, he's the new era. Mayor, I've placed my bet on the new era. Do you think I'll win, or you? What a joke. My son Ling, he has the potential of a great emperor. He's destined to be on par with the 9 emperors in the future. What's that Lin Yu? Madame Bodhi's eyes burned like flames. It's hard to say if he can pass the previous stage. How can he compete with my son? There's an ambush. Si Shaoxian immediately guessed the meaning behind Madame Bodhi's words. Her expression suddenly turned serious. Father, it looks like the Bodhi sect has turned out in full force to kill the master. Even if Si Shaoxian was anxious, Black Tianzong could do nothing. Maya, Black Tianzong shook his head helplessly. You're here just to delay me? That's right. It's enough to delay a busybody like you. Someone else can deal with Lin Yu. Ahead, Lin Yu stretched. Only his and May's expressions did not change despite the 5 late-stage, Grand Supreme stage powerhouses blocking their way. The 7 Great Protectors are all here. Only the Great Protector, Su Zhanhai, is absent. Lin Yu looked back and spread out his divine sense. He sensed Madame Beauty and the other 2 behind him. Looks like Su Zhanhai is already dead. Lin Yu smiled helplessly. The 5 people who were blocking the way looked at each other. The leader in the middle smiled and said, "The great guardian has only himself to blame. Now that Madame is in charge of the Bodhi sect, he naturally has to be prepared to pay the price for wanting to rebel. I heard that before Su Zhanhai died, he left the Bodhi sect to meet you. In my opinion, Lin Yu is the one who instigated Su Zhanhai's rebellion against our Bodhi sect." Rebel, Lin Yu raised an eyebrow. In terms of loyalty, I'm afraid no one in the Bodhi sect can compare to Su Zhanhai. Forget it. He stood up. There's no point in saying more. Low-key sect, listen my orders. As soon as Lin Yu's voice fell, the auras of Kai Yang and the other 10 people behind him burst forth, all of them replying in unison, yes. Leave none alive, Lin Yu said calmly. His voice was not loud, but it stunned the 5 people above at the same time. Such bold words. The main combat power of the Xian sect has already been pinned down by Madame. Where did these 10 people come from? The 5 people blocking the way did not expect Lin Yu to have so many masters around him. Who cares? They're all early-stage Grand Supremes. We're not afraid of them. One of them laughed and stepped out into the air. Suddenly, they saw Lin Yu walking straight towards them. Damn it, he dares to walk toward us alone? Since he wants to die, we'll fulfill his wish. Lin Yu ignored these voices and got closer and closer. The one who spoke just now was about to attack, but in the next moment, he sensed an extremely sharp sword chi slashing towards him. It was so fast that it far exceeded the speed of ordinary Grand Supremes. What? That person's 800 Grand Supremes burst out as he put his palms together and formed a huge Grand Supreme's chi wall. A loud bang was heard as the sword chi hit the Grand Supreme's chi wall. The aftermath spread, and even the other 4 could only retreat. Not to mention the 800 Grand Supremes who took the sword chi. At this moment, their vitality was in turmoil. But what was even more turbulent was his mind. How could he have imagined that the sword chi would be so powerful? He could not help but look at Yang Kai, who was stepping through the air and holding a sword like a horizontal sword. The 5 people were no longer careless, but only now did they notice that Lin Yu had passed through them. Damn it, stop him. Even if we can't stop him, we can buy some time. Young Master has won. The 5 people immediately came to a consensus, but Yang Kai's sword chi was still there, so they could only send 2 people to stall him. The other 3 instantly attacked Lin Yu. But in the next moment, 9 Grand Supremes fell at the same time. Lin Yu did not even turn his head. Behind him, Xiang Gu, Qin Ji, and the others had already intercepted the other 3. If we can't protect Sect Master at this time, what face do we have to stay in low-profile sect? Xiang Gu said coldly. This was their second battle after entering the Grand Supremes. Although they were facing opponents much stronger than them, in order to protect Lin Yu, there was no fear on their faces. In an instant, the fluctuations of battle erupted again. In Bodhi sect, a huge martial arts arena had been set up. Tens of thousands of Bodhi sect disciples were watching. That Lin Yu won't dare to come, right? That's right, it's time. If he doesn't come, it means he's afraid of our young master. He's trash after all. I heard that he has many tricks up his sleeves and always makes our young master suffer. But I didn't expect that when it comes to fighting our young master head-on, he doesn't even have the courage to come out. You don't understand. Our young master went to the Profound sect to receive the challenge. I heard that the people of Profound sect are very protective of Lin Yu. I guess that Lin Yu was a spy sent by profound sect from the beginning. He even cooperated with Great Protector Su Jinhai. Now that Great Protector is dead, if we kill Lin Yu, our Bodhi sect will be slapping profound sect's face. In the martial arts arena, Zhang Lingyi stood with his hands behind his back, eyes closed. A servant came up from behind him. "Young master, it's time. Lin Yu hasn't appeared yet. I'm afraid he's afraid of our young master's strength and doesn't dare to come." Zhang Lingyi's eyes were still closed, but he could not help but raise his eyebrows. He thought to himself, with his mother personally taking action, how could Lin Yu come? Even if he came, he would at most be in a severely injured state. Zhang Lingyi patted his chest, where a fist-sized emerald light spot was constantly emitting powerful energy, as if it was nourishing his combat body. "In that case, announce it." Zhang Lingyi smiled. "Tang Xin, after today, let's see if Lin Yu has the face to take you away." "Yes." However, before the servant could go far, a gust of wind came down from the sky. Between the whistling sound, the clothes of Zhang Lingyi and Tang Xin immediately fluttered without any wind. Chapter 294. At the same time, the others below also focused their attention. A black dot rapidly descended from the sky. It was so fast that it formed an invisible pressure in the sky, making it difficult for them to breathe. "This aura, who's that?" "Lin Yu. It must be Lin Yu." With a boom, the black dot smashed into the arena. Zhang Lingyi's expression turned ugly. He raised his hand, and a storm blew away the sand and dust in front of him. However, when Zhang Lingyi saw the figure walking out slowly, he couldn't help but squint his eyes. "You shouldn't be able to come." He was surprised and secretly cursed Madame Bodhi for not being able to stop him. "Lin Yu, but I'm already here." Lin Yu twisted his neck, and the bones in his body made cracking sounds. It was obvious that he wasn't in his peak condition. After being delayed for too long, he fell with all his might and smashed into the ground. It still hurt a little. "You seem to be afraid of me coming?" Lin Yu smiled faintly. Zhang Lingyi gritted his teeth and stepped forward. He patted the Bodhi fruit in his arms. "Don't think that you can avoid the second just because you escaped the first." His aura erupted, and 800 rays of Taishang power turned into a huge golden body. It directly stomped on Lin Yu. "You're just an ant. Die." The golden body landed, and the center of the arena was crushed. The stone slab shot out horizontally. On one of them, Lin Yu's figure appeared. When his hands formed seals, the Buddhist karma body also rose from the ground. Demonic nature, Buddhist nature, Tao nature. At the same time, they converged on his golden body. When he raised his fist, the Buddhist karma body's right fist immediately gathered yin and yang qi. "This isn't Lin Yu in the transcendent realm? Why does he have a golden body? Moreover, this golden body seems to be extraordinary. It contains 3 great Daos at the same time. But how do you integrate the 3 great Daos into the golden body?" The Buddhist karma body punched out, and Zhang Lingyi snorted angrily. Even if he was shocked that Lin Yu could use a golden body, he couldn't tell that this golden body wasn't as strong as his. Boom! The 2 golden bodies swung their fists at the same time. A storm was stirred up. The power of the Taishang and the yin-yang glory qi intertwined with each other. It was as if countless earth dragons were roaring in all directions. The stage cracked open, and streaks of aura gathered on the 2 fists like lightning. However, Zhang Lingyi had increased his aura to 800 strands. The strength of his golden body far exceeded that of Lin Yu's. In just a moment, the Buddha karma body began to crack. "You're dead." Zhang Lingyi laughed out loud. In his opinion, the golden body was Lin Yu's trump card. It was his greatest reliance on his combat prowess to rival the Grand Supreme stage. At this moment, the golden body shattered. Lin Yu was no longer his opponent. But in the next moment, Zhang Lingyi's laughter came to an abrupt halt. He heard a dragon's roar resound from where Lin Yu was on the stage. In an instant, the tens of thousands of people present felt a piercing pain in their eardrums, and their divine senses couldn't help but fall into a trance at this moment. What kind of cultivation technique is this? It's so powerful. The people outside the stage couldn't take it anymore, let alone Zhang Lingyi, who was above the golden body. Facing the dragon's roar at close range, Zhang Lingyi only felt the hair on his back stand on end. His cultivation base also became unstable at this moment. It's not a cultivation technique. Could it be a Taoist technique? He didn't believe that a cultivation technique could be so powerful. However, while he was maintaining his golden body, Lin Yu changed his move again. A vortex suddenly appeared above Zhang Lingyi's head. Dragon Claw. Zhang Lingyi's eyes widened. He saw that above his head, a huge dragon claw was breaking through the vortex and grabbing at him. Break for me. The golden body raised both hands and directly grabbed the dragon claw. However, the moment his hands were empty, Lin Yu had already raised his right hand. A dragon image wrapped around his arm. No, wait. Zhang Lingyi's eyes widened. At this moment, he knew that he had exposed the golden body's weakness. Without thinking, Zhang Lingyi gave up on the golden body. His hands formed a seal, and in an instant, countless vines grew in the air, forming a dense barrier around him. This barrier was like a shield, protecting Zhang Lingyi behind it layer by layer. Bodhi's freedom. Zhang Lingyi clasped his hands together. The Bodhi's heart in his arms emitted a dazzling light. The barrier vines in front of him instantly enlarged dozens of times. This young master's Bodhi's freedom has been cultivated to such a level. Such a powerful barrier. Lin Yu can't break it. Only Lin Yu knew that this was no longer Zhang Lingyi's strength, but the Bodhi's heart. However, the great void dragon form was indestructible. This was the final move of the Great Void 8 Tribes Dragon Transformation chapter. The moment Lin Yu punched out, the Chi Dragon form shot out like the sharpest spear in the world and hit the freedom barrier. Boom! Lin Yu's body moved without wind. The terrifying recoil caused the ground to collapse instantly. Previously, he had almost destroyed the Elder's Hall with only half of the fist force. Now that he had punched out with all his strength, Lin Yu only felt a stabbing pain in his arm. His body was too weak and could no longer bear the full power of the divine power. If he wanted to step into the second part of the Great Void 8 Tribes, Lin Yu knew that he had to first step into the yin-yang state. At that moment, the dragon form crashed into the barrier. Black lightning exploded. Zhang Lingyi's golden body instantly shattered, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. No, this is impossible. The freedom barrier in front of him was torn apart by the dragon form. Zhang Lingyi had grown up under the protection of the Bodhi sect all his life. He had never felt such a strong life-and-death crisis. No, I'll die. I can't beat him. The moment Zhang Lingyi was scared, the Bodhi's freedom barrier completely shattered. The dragon form opened its bloody mouth and arrived in an instant. It's over. I'm finished. However, the next moment, a law fell from the sky and blocked Zhang Lingyi's path. Most of the dragon form had already dissipated. It was no match for the law. It was a loud rumble. Lin Yu felt the strong power of the law. He knew that it was Madame Bodhi. At the critical moment, Lin Yu disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already in front of Zhang Lingyi, who had lost all will to fight. He clenched his hand, and the heart of Bodhi in Zhang Lingyi's arms was instantly sucked into Lin Yu's hand. I'll kill you if you dare to hurt my son. A fierce voice came from the sky. Madame Bodhi's second attack fell. Mom, save me. In an instant, the space around Lin Yu collapsed. The ground under his feet cracked. He spat out another mouthful of blood and immediately stepped back to distance himself from Zhang Lingyi. The arena had been torn apart. Lin Yu was a bit late. He thought that he would have been killed by that attack. At that moment, Madame Bodhi appeared in front of Zhang Lingyi. Mom, don't be afraid, my son. Madame Bodhi stared coldly at Lin Yu. She raised her right hand. Die. The power of the law came crashing down. Lin Yu felt the space behind him distort. Madame Bodhi's killing intent was obvious. She would not let him retreat. Chapter 295. This was the attack of the Law Realm. It interfered with the laws of the world and restricted all actions that could be easily done in battle. This is a life and death battle between Lin Yu and Zhang Lingyi. Mayor, it's beneath you to interfere like this. Xian Tianzong's figure appeared in front of Lin Yu. With a wave of his hand, the same law erupted and collided with Madame Puti's palm energy. The two laws dissipated. Xian Tianzong took a few steps back before he stabilized himself. Lin Yu could see that Madame Puti had arrived before him, which meant that Xian Tianzong was no match for her. Immediately after, several auras descended from the sky one after another. They were the Bodhi's sex protectors, Qian Dalong, Mu Zhan, Si Shaoxian, and the others. Where are the other 5? Madame Puti asked the protectors behind her. The 6 protectors are trapped by Lin Yu's men and can't return for the time being. Trash, Madame Puti said angrily and turned to Lin Yu. Don't even think about leaving today. It seems that someone wants to renege on their loss and force the master to stay. Si Shaoxian snorted coldly. At the same time, she came to Lin Yu's side and immediately sensed that Lin Yu's aura was chaotic, as if he was injured. Madame Puti injured him. Xian Tianzong's expression was also a little ugly. If Lin Yu was injured by Zhang Lingyi, no one would have anything to say. However, Madame Puti had intervened and disregarded her reputation for her son. Lin Yu was an elder of the Celestial Sect. Did the Bodhi sect really think that the Celestial Sect was dead? What are you waiting for? Take them all down. Madam, I'm afraid that you'll be ridiculed by others in the future. The protectors behind him had troubled looks on their faces. They were a quasi-emperor's sect, so they still cared about their reputation. Moreover, everyone knew that it was Zhang Lingyi who had challenged Lin Yu. However, Madame Puti had ambushed him along the way and interfered in the battle now, even injuring Lin Yu. How could they not see that Zhang Lingyi had already lost? So what? If I don't kill Lin Yu today, I'll leave an indelible scar in my son's heart. In the future, Lin Yu will become an eternal nightmare in his path of cultivation. Madame Puti stared at Lin Yu with murderous intent, her voice harsh. Everyone who stands in my son's way must be eliminated. Does that include me? Suddenly, a woman's voice sounded. Everyone looked up into the sky and saw a gigantic staff breaking through the air and smashing into the center of the arena. As the world-extinguishing staff shrank, Yang Kai and the others appeared in front of everyone. The woman who spoke was Nan Ruhong Yi, who was standing behind Yang Kai. Vile spawn, are you really Lin Yu's man? Madame Puti was not as surprised to see Nan Ruhong Yi as she had expected. Naturally, this was because Lin Yu had asked Su Zhanhai to bring news of Nan Ruhong Yi back to Bodhi sect when low-profile sect first arrived. I am indeed a member of low-profile sect, but I am also Nan Ruhong, the legitimate descendant of Bodhi sect. Nan Ruhong Yi took a few steps forward. The Bodhi sect protectors glanced at each other. So what Chief Protector said was true? Didn't Chief Protector collude with outsiders and spread false news that young lady was still alive in an attempt to shake young master's position? They couldn't help glancing over at Madame Puti and Zhang Lingyi. These protectors were all from the older generation of Bodhi sect, so of course, they knew about old Master Bodhi's feelings for Nan Ruhong Yi. Young lady, this is what Protector Su said true. If young lady is really still alive, why did Madame say you were dead? Countless questioning voices rang out. Madame Puti glared at Nan Ruhong Yi, her murderous intent filling the air. Since you have pledged allegiance to Lin Yu, you are no longer a member of our Bodhi sect. Today, none of you will leave. In front of Lin Yu, Mei slowly walked over. Are you hurt? Shaking his head, Lin Yu smiled. It's not serious. Where are the other protectors? Didn't you keep me here so I could kill them? Mei asked again. Lin Yu nodded with satisfaction. You did well, but you didn't do well. She stared at Lin Yu's eyes and interrupted him. That Zhang Lingyi didn't have the ability to hurt you. So who did? As soon as Mei said this, Yang Kai and the others also surrounded Lin Yu. The extinguishing universe staff shrank and returned to Lin Yu's side. I was the one who injured you, so what? Madame Puti's cold voice rang out. Very good. Mei turned around, took a step forward, raised her hand, and sent out a palm strike. You overestimate yourself. Where did this wild girl come from? Madame Beauty sneered and sent out a palm strike. But in the next moment, she saw that her principal attack had been stopped in midair, blocked by a similar principal. You're at the principal realm? Madame Beauty's eyes widened. One of Lin Yu's subordinates was actually at the principal realm. Their principals collided, and the ring between the two was split in two. They were evenly matched, unable to determine a winner. Your injuries haven't healed yet, Lin Yu said lightly. Judging from his experience, May's cultivation should be higher than Madame Beauty's. I don't care. She hurt you, so she has to pay the price. May said stubbornly. Lin Yu smiled. Leave it to me. Pulling May's hand and retreating, Lin Yu stepped forward and appeared in front of the crowd. Zhang Lingyi, you should know what a life or death battle means. Lin Yu's calm voice rang out and fell into Zhang Lingyi's ears. At this moment, Zhang Lingyi, who was hiding behind Madame Beauty, couldn't help but break out in cold sweat. Mother, naturally, she could see that Zhang Lingyi was already traumatized by Lin Yu. Madame Beauty smiled and said, it's fine. No one can touch you here. But we've already said that we'll bet our lives. Lin Yu spoke again, his tone still calm. There was no trace of dissatisfaction from Madame Beauty's protection. So what? Lin Yu, if you have the ability to take my son's life, then come and try. Madame Beauty provoked. But at this time, not only were the people from the Xian sect and the discreet sect ashamed of his actions, but even the people from the Bodhi sect felt that they could not lift their heads. They no longer had the arrogance that they had in the beginning when they wanted Zhang Lingyi to defeat Lin Yu. They had all seen with their own eyes that Zhang Lingyi had already lost to Lin Yu. If Madame Beauty hadn't forcefully joined the battle, Zhang Lingyi would probably be dead now. Now, Madame Beauty's actions were truly embarrassing. But Madame Beauty didn't care about that. For Zhang Lingyi, she wouldn't mind even if the entire Bodhi sect had to die with him. Grandmaster, we won't be able to take down Zhang Lingyi today. I think Madame Beauty is deliberately protecting him. Mu Zhan advised, afraid that Lin Yu would impulsively fight Madame Beauty to the death. He and Qian Dalong had already expended a lot of energy to stop the two protectors with 900 Dao paths of the Grand Supreme Realm. If they continue to fight, it would be disadvantageous for them. Grandmaster, there's still plenty of time in the future. Black Heaven sect also felt that in the current situation, it was better to retreat. After all, this was Bodhi sect's territory. Only the people of low-profile sect didn't try to persuade Lin Yu. Qin Ji and the others silently stood beside Lin Yu. Together with Mei, they raised their auras to the maximum. They knew Lin Yu's character. Low-profile sect was reasonable. Lin Yu would decide the fate of the loser in a life-and-death battle. Everyone's eyes fell on Lin Yu. Madame Beauty's stance was clear. She was determined to protect her son. Not only that, she even wanted to kill Lin Yu as well. Don't be nervous. You've misunderstood me. Looking at Madame Beauty and Zhang Lingyi's hostile expressions, Lin Yu's expression was as calm as still water. I'm not negotiating with you. I'm just informing you that Zhang Lingyi's life is mine. Chapter 296. Lin Yu's voice was not loud, but it was like a sudden clap of thunder, exploding in everyone's minds. The atmosphere quickly froze to the extreme. The people from Xian sect and Bodhi sect all had solemn expressions at this moment. Only Lin Yu and the few people from low-profile sect behind him still had the same expression. No matter what Lin Yu did or what arrogant words he said, the people of the low-key sect would not be surprised at all, because this was their sect master. A low-profile and reasonable sect master. Arrogant. Lin Yu, what kind of ability is it to flaunt your tongue? Zhang Lingyi said angrily, but he still hid behind Madame Bodhi. Even if Lin Yu said he wanted his life, Zhang Lingyi did not take a step forward. This brat's evil aura is too strong, and his potential is too great. We can't let him go. Madame Bodhi narrowed her eyes, naturally not caring about Lin Yu's words. She was confident that her son was behind her, and Lin Yu definitely did not have the ability to hurt him. But what she was afraid of was Lin Yu's future. Once such a person grew up, her Bodhi sect would definitely not be able to deal with him in the future. Moreover, Lin Yu already had a Law Realm powerhouse by his side. With the help of Xian's sect, it was only a matter of time for him to grow up. Protectors, now is not the time to pursue the matter of Nan Ru's red dress. Madame Bodhi narrowed her eyes. As you can see, if Lin Yu is not eliminated, he will definitely be our Bodhi sect's biggest problem in the future. Hearing this, the few people behind her nodded. When they looked at each other, they all agreed with Madame Bodhi's words. They were not fools. The deterrence Lin Yu displayed at this moment, and the people behind him, was enough to show that this person was born to be a leader. In addition, at his age, he could defeat Zhang Lingyi, who had been nurtured by Bodhi sect since young. Such a person's future achievements would definitely be much greater than Zhang Lingyi's. Everyone, Madam is right. We can't let Lin Yu leave. If we let the tiger return to the mountain today, the day of our Bodhi sect's annihilation will come. The protectors immediately reached a consensus. Shameless. Nan Ruhong couldn't help but curse. Even though she was from the Bodhi sect, she still felt incomparably ashamed. Then, Nan Ruhong immediately turned towards Lin Yu and shouted, "Sect Master, run. Looks like you don't really care about Zhang Lingyi's life." Lin Yu shrugged helplessly. Did they all think that he was just bragging? Then, Lin Yu raised his hand, and Zhang Lingyi thought that Lin Yu was going to attack him, so he subconsciously hid behind Madame Beauty. Protect the young master. The Bodhi sect protector immediately stood in front of Zhang Lingyi. But in the next moment, a scarlet line of blood shot out from Lin Yu's chest and landed in Lin Yu's hand. He had planted it on Zhang Lingyi when he had first arrived in the inner area. Blood sacrifice, heart refinement. What is this? Zhang Lingyi's eyes widened, wondering when this red line had appeared in his body. In the next moment, he sensed a life-threatening crisis. His life force was rapidly draining away as the red line vibrated. Mother, save me. Zhang Lingyi didn't expect that Lin Yu could take his life without defeating Madame Beauty and the elders. No, beast, stop it. Madame Beauty's eyes were filled with terror. As she screamed, she grabbed a red line in front of Zhang Lingyi and tried to break it. But the moment she exerted force, Zhang Lingyi spat out a mouthful of blood. His originally black hair turned white at a visible rate. At the same time, gorgeous wrinkles appeared on his face. I don't want to die. Mother, save me. Zhang Lingyi pointed a finger at Lin Yu and knelt down. Only at this moment did he realize what kind of opponent he was facing. From the time he targeted Lin Yu in the Realm Crossing Gate battle, to the time he brought Su Zhenhai to kill Lin Yu in the inner area, to today's life and death battle, he had been courting death all along. He thought that Madame Beauty could protect him, but now she couldn't even get close to Lin Yu. She was stopped by Mei and Black Heaven's sect. If my son dies, I'll bury all of you with him. All of you. Madame Beauty's roar rang out. But Lin Yu's eyes were still as calm as ever. He took away Zhang Lingyi's last strand of life force. At this moment, the spoiled brat who had targeted him 3 times and 4 times had died in front of him. Lin Yu, I'll take your life. The power of the law fell, and the space around Lin Yu suddenly distorted. But Lin Yu was not in a hurry. He looked at the bloodstains on his right hand's fingers. It was Zhang Lingyi's blood essence from the blood sacrifice heart refinement. Do you have a handkerchief? He raised his hand, and Yao Gu immediately handed him a handkerchief behind him. The entire process was calm. It was as if he had never killed anyone. Everyone from the Bodhi sect felt a chill run down their spines when they saw this scene. Even the late-stage Grand Supreme Stage protectors couldn't help but gulp, temporarily forgetting about Zhang Lingyi's death. What kind of person did our Bodhi sect offend? It's over. Zhang Lingyi is dead. Madame Beauty's everything is over. They thought that Lin Yu would flee in a hurry after killing Zhang Lingyi, but he was slowly wiping his fingers clean. He didn't even care about Madame Beauty's killing move in the sky. Lin Yu's clothes were fluttering due to the pressure of the law when the palm landed 10 feet above him. But at the same time, Mei and the Black Heaven sect's 2 laws collided. They blocked all of the power of the palm. Lin Yu didn't care about Madame Beauty. Instead, he looked at the other side of the sky. There, a strange black cloud was rapidly approaching. Finally can't help but make a move? Lin Yu smirked and said to the back, "Prepare to retreat." Mu Zhan and Qian Dalong were stunned. "You're finally willing to leave. This Madame Beauty is going crazy." But when Black Heaven Sect and Mei repelled Madame Beauty, they immediately noticed the black cloud. The demon sect of bliss. Black Heaven Sect narrowed his eyes. When he sensed that something was wrong, he lowered his head and ordered, "Retreat." But when he turned around, he couldn't help but widen his eyes. Where are they? Black Heaven Sect looked up at the sky in the opposite direction and saw that the annihilating universe staff had become bigger than a warship and was shooting through the sky. The people from the profound sect he brought along, as well as Lin Yu's low-key sect, were also shrinking on the staff. Damn it, they reacted so quickly. Black Heaven Sect suddenly felt his blood boil. Why did this group of bastards leave me? The sect master. Master, is it really okay? The sect master is still behind us? It's fine. When he reacts, he'll catch up. Lin Yu answered Mu Zhan's worries indifferently. However, the latter still couldn't help but retreat. The black cloud had already approached the sky above the arena. Qian Dalong was puzzled. We have 2 lower realms. Even if there are people from the demon sect of bliss, there's no need to be so afraid. Chapter 297. Mu Zhan had the same doubts. At this moment, the cosmic extinction staff had already broken through the clouds and completely left the Bodhi sect star field. You'll know in a while. Lin Yu sat down and meditated cross-legged. He took out a large amount of obsidian bot and refined it into obsidian energy to heal the injuries caused by Madame Bodhi. After 3 minutes, Black Tianzong and Charm caught up to the cosmic extinction staff. When Mu Zhan, Qian Dalong, and Si Shaoxian stepped forward to greet Black Tianzong, they saw the latter's old face turn red. The next moment, he spat out a mouthful of blood. Lin Yu immediately hid far away, but Mu Zhan and the other 2 could not avoid it, especially Qian Dalong. Because he was too big, he was directly sprayed in the face. Sect Master. Qian Dalong's face was covered in blood. Black Tianzong wiped away the blood. Much better. He ignored Qian Dalong and immediately sat down to adjust his breathing. After the 2 of them arrived, the cosmic extinction staff also sped up a lot. "Are you okay?" Lin Yu asked Charm, who had returned to his side. "Do you still care about my life and death?" Charm glared at Lin Yu angrily. He had run too fast just now. However, she was not really angry because if Lin Yu did not leave in advance, she and the Xintian sect would not be able to leave if they were too cautious. "How did you find out that there were 3 Law Realm cultivators inside?" Charm asked in surprise. She and Black Tianzong only realized that there were 3 Law Realm auras hidden inside when the black clouds were about to descend. If not for the fact that Lin Yu had run away and made them ready to retreat, Charm felt that she and Black Tianzong would have been left behind by the black clouds. Since the demon cult of bliss has made a move, they will definitely come with all their might. Lin Yu said indifferently. At this moment, everyone had retreated unscathed. He patted the Bodhi heart in his arms. As long as he refined it, he would have a chance to step into the 3 Yuan Yin-Yang realm. Lin Yu was filled with curiosity about this realm. Even though he had been trapped in the same day for 100,000 years and absorbed all the knowledge. However, Lin Yu was still looking forward to this realm that no one had ever reached before. "Yin Daosheng, you old bastard, I'll get my revenge sooner or later." Xintian Zong stood up. His injuries had improved a lot. However, due to the hidden dangers caused by Si Junlin and his age, it was already impossible for him to return to his peak. The sect master of the Bliss Life sect, Yin Daosheng, has come personally. "Sect master, what a coincidence. We've only just arrived at the Bodhi sect, but the demon cult of floating life is already here. Could it be that Yin Daosheng has already allied with Madame Bodhi?" Mu Zhan and Qian Dalong pondered. Qian Tianzong shook his head. "I'm not sure. This is very strange. The 3 sects in the inner area have always kept each other in check. Once they form an alliance, it won't be good for the 3 sections." His gaze turned towards Lin Yu. "Brat, You seem to have known that the floating life devil church would come. Xian Tianzong thought that if he had not known, Lin Yu would not have run so decisively. A moment ago, he had killed Zhang Lingyi in front of Madame Beauty, and in the next moment, he had fled. This contrast was too hard to fathom. I guessed. Lin Yu did not explain further. However, ever since Yin Xiaoxiao asked him to join the demon cult of floating life, he had already known that Yin Xiaoxiao had left the celestial sect. Lin Yu had guessed a little. Lin Yu did not care if Yin Xiaoxiao had told his father, the sect master of the demon cult of floating life, everything about the celestial sect. Whether she told him or not, or how Yin Daoxing attacked, it could not stop him. Seeing this, Xian Tianzong did not ask further. However, even if they were out of danger now, it was not a long-term solution. The hidden danger has only just begun. Xian Tianzong's old face was solemn. Madame Bodhi has lost her beloved son. If Yin Daoxing plays a small trick at this time and proposes an alliance with Madame Bodhi to deal with our celestial sect, the more Xian Tianzong thought about it, the more he felt that it was possible. With Madame Bodhi's current state, she might agree regardless of everything. His words were very reasonable. After hearing this, Mu Zhan, Qin Dalong, Si Xiaoxian, and the others also fell into a sense of crisis. Father, let's quickly go back to the celestial sect and hide. Si Xiaoxian also knew that they could not be reckless now. She had followed them all the way here because she was worried about Lin Yu. Now that Lin Yu had won a great victory, there was naturally nothing else to worry about. However, when Mu Zhan and Qin Dalong looked at each other, they both felt like swallowing their words. How could these small expressions escape Lin Yu's eyes? Sect master of the celestial sect, the Bodhi sect was provoked because of Lin Yu. Why don't we part ways now? This way, we won't implicate the celestial sect. After Lin Yu spoke, Mu Zhan and Qin Dalong smiled at the same time. Sect master, Master Lin's words make sense. Yes, with Master Lin's ability, he will definitely be able to avoid this disaster. In the future, when he appears again, he will still be an elder of the celestial sect. CKU. Xian Tianzong's old injury almost relapsed. He was almost angered to death by these two idiots. Now, the celestial sect and Lin Yu were tied together. Madame Bodhi's target was naturally Lin Yu. However, the more troublesome demon cult of bliss was now Lin Yu's target. His target must be the celestial sect. If Lin Yu ran away now, the ones who would suffer the most would be the tens of thousands of disciples of the celestial sect. Xian Tianzong did not dare to imagine. When the two sects attacked, the celestial sect's 8 residences would be purgatory. Mu Zhan, Qin Dalong, who do you think the Xian Tianzong is? Xian Tianzong's nomological aura immediately erupted. He risked his injury to force these two bastards to retreat. Mu Zhan and Qin Dalong spat out a mouthful of blood at the same time. Their eyes were full of doubts. They did not know where they had gone wrong. The relationships in this quasi-emperor level sect were complicated. How could the two of them see through it? However, Xian Tianzong was sure that Lin Yu had seen through it. That was why he did not want to implicate the celestial sect. Master Lin, don't worry. With me around, the celestial sect will always be your shelter. Xian Tianzong placed one hand on Lin Yu's shoulder and subconsciously exerted force, afraid that Lin Yu would run away. In the future, if anyone tries to sow discord between Master Lin and me, the Xian Tianzong will take his life. His action of injuring Mu Zhan and Qin Dalong was obviously for Lin Yu to see. Xian Tianzong thought that since he had already punished Mu Zhan and Qin Dalong, Lin Yu would not abandon the celestial sect, right? Since sect master is so righteous, then Lin Yu will risk his life to accompany the hero. After cupping his fists righteously, Lin Yu's expression immediately turned serious. Yin Daoxing and Madame Bodhi will attack the celestial sect in 6 hours. We need to make some preparations. Seeing that Lin Yu had changed his mind, Xian Tianzong heaved a sigh of relief. At this moment, Mu Zhan and Qin Dalong realized that they had almost caused a disaster. With sweat on their foreheads, the two of them stood beside Xian Tianzong with their heads lowered. They did not dare to say another word. Master Lin seems to have a countermeasure. Chapter 298. Qian Tianzong asked tentatively. He was already certain that Lin Yu had a plan in mind. No one in Qian Tianzong's decades of experience could compare to Lin Yu's strategy. Lin Yu knew that time was running out. Now that Qian Tianzong and Mu Zhan had made up their minds, he decided not to keep them in suspense and make the decision. Yuinga, I want you and the Wind and Moon Immortals to use the Wind and Moon 5 ultimate skills together with Left Emissary Yang, Elder Yang Qing, Sword Fanatic, and Long Lin to use the 4 divine swords. Lin Yu's words seemed to have some kind of magical power that made Yuinga and the others, even those from the Bodhi sect, excited. It was as if he was an emperor giving orders to his soldiers. Sect leader, are you going to Yuinga? Sword Fanatic and the others all thought of the same thing. That's right. I want all of you to form the 4 Swords 5 ultimate god-killing formation and defend the east side of the 8 mansions against the Bodhi sect and the demon cult of bliss. The few people who were called out nodded at Lin Yu. Mu Zhan. Lin Yu spoke again. Mu Zhan's hair stood on end. I'm here. Mu Qingqing should have modified the Xianmen mech. I want you to pass the mech's control token to her. At the same time, Lin Yu looked at Qian Dalong. Use the Gambling Den's intelligence network to inform the people at the border of the 8 mansions to make way for Mu Qingqing's mech. I want the mech to cover the west side of the 8 mansions. Okay, no problem. At this moment, Qian Dalong was deeply impressed by Lin Yu's imposing manner and nodded without the slightest hesitation. As for the south side, Lin Yu's gaze fell on Qian Tianzong again. I'll go. Qian Tianzong asked subconsciously. He thought that he was bold enough. Today, he finally saw Lin Yu's boldness. This kid was only in his teens. Where did he get his boldness from? No. Lin Yu shook his head. You go to the north. Qian Dalong and Mu Zhan will assist Mu Qingqing in arranging the mecha. The other 8 elders can use the 8 trigrams formation to guard the south. They didn't even have a map of the celestial sect of wonders. However, Lin Yu's every word had already let them know that the entire map of the celestial sect of wonders was in his mind. The world-extinguishing staff had already descended into the clouds of the Xian Gate. The members of the low-key sect and the celestial sect of wonders went to prepare. Only Lin Yu and Mei were left on the staff. Lin Yu sized her up. Little Mimi, you will guard the courtyard of the celestial sect of wonders. Me? Charm was stunned for a moment. Just me? That's enough. The central courtyard will be the last line of defense. Given the personalities of the demon cult of bliss and Madame Bodhi, they will probably attack from the borders of the Xian sect. When Mei heard this, she could only nod her head. What about you? I'll go into seclusion and rest for a while. Lin Yu said heartlessly. Don't joke around. Mei's fair face twitched, but she didn't hear Lin Yu's response, because Lin Yu had already flown down to his training room. Bastard, are you serious? Mei was so angry that she stomped her feet. Although she came from the Imperial Gate, she had no experience in war. All of Lin Yu's arrangements made her extremely nervous. Every arrangement reminded her that what was about to happen was a real war. Only when she couldn't see Lin Yu did Mei shake her head helplessly and look down at the 8 manors of the celestial sect of wonders. The location of the 8 manors of the celestial sect of wonders was like a huge spider web. The main hall was in the middle of the spider web, and the 8 manors and their respective streets spread out in 8 directions from the main hall. She had originally wanted to find where the central courtyard was, but from the looks of it, the central courtyard was where she was now. Lin Yu is also almost directly below the central courtyard. Mei didn't have time to think. She had already sensed that the space above the sky was cracking. The entire sky seemed to have been torn apart, revealing a vast star field that flickered with starlight. Immediately after, the clouds under the sky churned. A black cloud that blotted out the sky appeared above everyone's heads like a black hand that reached out from outside the star field. It's here. Mei narrowed her eyes. This battle was a top-notch battle in the inner realm. Even she couldn't help but have a serious expression. At the same time, all around the celestial sect of wonders, Powerful auras constantly soared into the sky. On both sides of the southeast, the Four Swords 5 ultimate god-killing array and the 8 trigrams formation of the Celestial Sect of Wonders had been formed. On the west side, the Celestial Sect of Wonders Mecca surpassed the supreme golden body and rose from the ground. On the north side, the Celestial Sect's Dharma idol stood tall. The time is just right. May took a deep breath and saw that the black cloud didn't come towards her. Instead, it went to the east side of the Celestial Sect of Wonders. She couldn't help but look down at the Elders' Hall's training room. You're so good at marching and fighting. What else can you not do? In the training room, Lin Yu was alone. At this moment, everyone in the Celestial Sect of Wonders was in danger. No one would disturb him. Lin Yu took out the Bodhi heart. The light from it enveloped him. He felt that the damage to his combat body caused by stepping into the yin-yang divine realm had improved a lot. It's indeed a good item for improving my combat body. Lin Yu sighed. Madame Bodhi thought that only Tang Xian's mutant blood combat body could help her refine it. How foolish. Shaking his head, Lin Yu opened his mouth and took a bite. A terrifying force slid down Lin Yu's throat. Instantly, his body rumbled. His bones, meridians, and blood formed a huge suction force at this moment. Lin Yu sat cross-legged. One bite after another, he ate the entire Bodhi heart. If Madame Bodhi was here, she would have been furious. The Bodhi heart, which was regarded as a treasure by the Bodhi sect, was not to be refined, but to be eaten. This secret was only known to the master of the Bodhi sect 1,000 years ago. Lin Yu had been trapped for 100,000 years before he finally found out about this secret. At that time, he already felt that the people of the Bodhi sect were stupid. They valued this treasure so much that they did not dare to touch it. Even the descendants of the Bodhi sect had been researching different refining methods because they had lost the method to use the Bodhi heart. However, when the Bodhi heart was refined, the energy inside it was self-contained. It was not something they could refine. Sometimes, the most violent method is the best method. Lin Yu swallowed the last bite. At the same time, he took out the purple cauldron, the Wuji black gold, and the 9 serenities cold fire. After familiarizing himself with the process, Lin Yu tried to break through to the yin-yang divine realm for the second time. Different from the last time, after the Bodhi heart merged with his combat body began to erupt with terrifying power. Unlike the last time, when his divine will and glory chi were improved, his combat body was damaged. This time, the power of the 3 elements was on par with each other. Finally, I can combine the 3 elements into one. Lin Yu was in great pain, but the excitement in his eyes was beyond words. In the cultivation room, the yin-yang divine kept rumbling. At this moment in the outside world, to the east of the Xian sect, the fluctuations of the battle and the array were constantly rumbling. Below the Four Swords 5 ultimate god-killing array, in the distant southern border of the 4-direction star zone, a law broke through the void and entered the array. Chapter 299. The laws of the southern border descended and poured into the great array. The huge Four Swords 5 ultimate god-killing array enveloped the eastern dome of the Celestial Sect of Wonders, protecting it like a heavenly curtain. Countless figures slowly walked out from the black clouds. 100 people, 1,000 people, 10,000 people. Tens of thousands of auras smashed down towards the sword formation below. But at the same time, from the west, south, and north sides of the Celestial Sect of Wonders, there were Law Realm auras coming from the east. They collided with the 10,000 auras of the black clouds. The light of the battle instantly illuminated the Celestial Sect of Wonders, which was about to turn dark, as if it was daytime. Damn it, we have to break through all 4 sides at the same time before we can attack them. The Celestial Sect of Wonders actually set up a formation in 4 directions in such a short period of time. The formation on the east side contains the laws of the starry sky. It's even stronger than our laws. It doesn't seem like something from the Celestial Sect of Wonders. Could it be that someone is helping the Celestial Sect of Wonders? Otherwise, with the mysterious sky sect's ability, they wouldn't be able to do this. Surprised voices came from the black clouds one after another. Yin Daosheng, you said that you would help me take revenge, but now you can't even break through the barrier of the celestial sect of wonders? Madame Bodhi's eyes were filled with killing intent as she stared down. Lin, you must still be in the celestial sect of wonders. I want him to die without a complete corpse. This old man can definitely resolve this matter, but Madame must also remember the conditions you promised me. Beside Madame Bodhi, a middle-aged man dressed in a black robe with a black dragon embroidered on it. His gaze also carried a hint of evil charm as he looked over. This person was Yin Xiaoxiao's father, the sect leader of the floating life demon sect, Yin Daosheng. As long as you kill Lin Yu, my Bodhi sect is willing to follow your floating life demon sect. Madame Bodhi gritted her teeth. Hatred had clearly made her lose her judgment. Behind her, the other protectors of the Bodhi sect also dared to be angry, but did not dare to say anything. Although they knew that Madame Bodhi's current actions were equivalent to selling out the Bodhi sect just to avenge his dead son. However, the two protectors who had objected at the beginning had already died at the hands of Madame Bodhi and Yin Daosheng. How could they dare to resist now? Right now, the four sides of the celestial sect of wonders complement each other. If you want to break through one of them, you have to withstand the combined attack of the four sides. Yin Daosheng narrowed his eyes. Protectors of the Bodhi sect attack the north side, Madame Bodhi. He turned to Madame Beauty and said, "Go to the south side and wait for my orders. We will attack together." In the face of Yin Daosheng's orders, Madame Bodhi no longer had the arrogance she had before. Instead, she was extremely cooperative. The other enforcers of the Bodhi sect were also taken aback, unsure if they should listen to Yin Daosheng. "We'll follow sect leader Yan's orders. Hurry up and go," Madame Beauty ordered. Those people had already stepped down from the sky and landed on the east side of the Four Swords' 5 ultimate god-killing array. On the other side, Madame Beauty was also heading south. After they left, a member of the demonic sect spoke from behind Yin Daosheng. "Sect leader, can the Bodhi sect be trusted? How can I not trust her? Madame Bodhi is now just a puppet that only knows how to take revenge. We used her to take down the profound sect and then swallowed up the Bodhi sect in one fell swoop. This is a good opportunity that our devil cult will not encounter again for many years." Yin Daosheng couldn't help but smile proudly. Then, he turned to the girl behind him and nodded. "Xiao Xiao, you did well. If you hadn't told me everything about the profound sect, I'm afraid I wouldn't have been able to seize this opportunity." Hearing this, Yin Xiaoxiao's delicate body trembled behind him. There wasn't the slightest bit of joy in her expression. Her pretty face was filled with gloom. "Father, can you let Lin Yu and the people from the low-key sect go?" Yin Xiaoxiao's voice was a little hoarse. "Of course. If he's really as powerful as you say, I'm more than happy to help you two get married." Yin Daosheng patted Yin Xiaoxiao's shoulder. "As for the one from the Imperial sect, you have to think carefully. If you give up, you give up. I've thought about it." Yin Xiaoxiao nodded and looked at Lin Yu with certainty. However, she was still very conflicted in her heart. "Lin Yu, when my demonic sect army tramples over the Xian sect, will you still reject me like before?" "Good. Looks like that Lin Yu is really something. To think that my daughter likes him so much." Yin Daosheng smiled and turned his head. However, when Yin Xiaoxiao couldn't see him, a trace of killing intent flashed through his eyes. If Lin Yu couldn't be used by him, he would never let such a person go. The people from the Bodhi sect are in charge of the east and the south. Deputy sect master, take some people and take down the west. Yin Daosheng ordered again. Behind him, a pale-faced old man nodded and then disappeared. When he reappeared, he was already in the west. "The rest of you, go to the north." After Yin Daosheng finished speaking, he walked toward the central courtyard. May's gaze turned serious. She saw that Yin Daosheng had already arrived. "As expected, I didn't guess wrong. The aura here isn't any weaker than the four sides of the profound sect." Yin Daosheng smiled faintly at May. "I've never seen such a young law realm cultivator in the inner area. Are you from the Imperial sect? His gaze was sharp, and it was as if he could see through May. This has nothing to do with you. If you know what's good for you, Scram, May said coldly, but she also knew that it was all in vain. The aura of the devilish middle-aged man in front of her was even stronger than Madame Bodhi's. It was as if he was only a step away from stepping into the second layer of the law realm. I've come with sincerity. If you're not from the profound sect, then you're Lin Yu's man. If the low-key sect surrenders to my demon cult of bliss, I'll guarantee that no one will die in this battle. How about it? Yin Daosheng stretched out a hand and seemed to be extremely sincere. However, he pointed to the east. That formation should also be something from your low-key sect, right? May didn't say anything. She directly told her that this person was very dangerous. Whether it was strength or mental strength, it seemed that only Lin Yu could deal with him. You're not speaking. Are you afraid? Yin Daosheng smiled apologetically. How about this? If you can't make the decision, you can ask Lin Yu to come out. I'll make a deal with him. Hearing Lin Yu's name, May's eyes suddenly flickered. Looks like you're indeed Lin Yu's man. Yin Daosheng smiled, but in his heart, he couldn't help but be shocked by Lin Yu. This brat actually had a law realm subordinate? No, it's useless to say more. Let's do it. May finished speaking. Yin Daosheng smiled. There's no need to rush. Look at the four directions. He raised his eyebrows and looked at the four directions of the profound sect. The fluctuations of battle had already sounded at the same time. Do you think your low-key sect and the profound sect are stronger, or my demon cult of bliss and the Bodhi sect are stronger? Of course we win. May gritted her teeth and cursed in her heart. This old fox didn't fight, so why did he keep asking her questions? Chapter 300. It seems like you are very confident in Lin Yu. If that's the case, why don't you ask him to come out and talk to me? Yin Daosheng smiled faintly. Nonsense. Charm gritted her teeth and decided to attack. She couldn't let Yin Daosheng continue asking. Unexpectedly, the latter smiled. It seems like it's not convenient for Lin Yu to come out now. Was he injured in the battle with Zhang Lingyi? Or is it because of other reasons? Yin Daosheng dodged Charm's nomological attack and continued asking. It has nothing to do with you. Charm was furious. She raised her hands, and the destruction nomological law rumbled. Yin Daosheng raised his hand when he saw this. A black fog immediately appeared behind him and surged forward to meet Charm's destruction nomological law. Rumble. The two nomological laws collided, and a terrifying shockwave swept out, instantly affecting the mystic sect building below. Elder's Hall. Charm hesitated for a moment, worried that Lin Yu would be affected by the battle. But at that moment, she immediately retracted her gaze. It seems like you are very worried about that place. At that moment, Yin Daosheng spoke again. Charm's expression changed slightly, and she didn't finish her sentence. Instead, she unleashed her full cultivation. The destruction nomological law formed a crescent golden wheel that was 100 feet wide and slashed at Yin Daosheng. I guess right. Yin Daosheng smiled. Indeed, no one in the inner region was his match when it came to scheming. Instead of blocking Charm's attack directly, Yin Daosheng pointed his finger. Black magic. There was a loud bang. At the tip of his finger, a black mist formed into a sharp spear and shot out explosively. However, its target wasn't Charm, but the Elder's Hall, where Lin Yu was. You. Charm's eyes widened. Her speed should be about the same as Yin Daosheng's. At that moment, she could hit Yin Daosheng, and similarly, Yin Daosheng could also penetrate the Elder's Hall. However, Lin Yu was still inside. With this in mind, Charm gritted her teeth and immediately changed her finger technique. The crescent golden wheel changed direction and slashed at the spear. At the same time, Yin Daosheng narrowed his eyes and pointed at Charm with his other hand. Bang! Bang! 2 consecutive booms resounded in the courtyard. The first came from the golden wheel and the black spear. May's crescent-shaped golden wheel directly sliced apart the black spear. This also made Yin Daosheng take a few steps back helplessly as his blood churned. However, the corners of his mouth curled up into a proud smile. This was because the second explosion came from where the Mei was. At that moment, the clothes on Mei's right shoulder were completely torn. A ghastly, bloody hole suddenly appeared on his shoulder. Yin Daoxing's other black spear had already hit Mei. "You've lost. If we continue fighting, you'll die in my hands." Yin Daoxing shrugged. "Let me go down and talk to Lin Yu. I know he's inside." "Impossible." Mei gritted his teeth, but his heart was filled with shock. This opponent was much stronger than Madame Bodhi. A sharp pain came from her right shoulder, and Mei knew that she had fallen into a trap. She had revealed a flaw, letting Yin Daoxing know that she was concerned about Lin Yu in the Hall of Elders. That was why Yin Daoxing had used an illusory technique. It looked like he wanted to kill Lin Yu, but in reality, the black spear only contained half of his strength. As for the other half, it had hit Mei Xin when she was trying to save Lin Yu. If that's the case, it won't be too late for this old man to go in after killing you. Yin Daoxing took a step forward, and his black magic soared into the sky. Behind him, a huge demonic shadow appeared. This demonic shadow was ferocious and terrifying. The moment it appeared, it was like a giant rising from the ground. It was at least 300 feet tall, and wherever it passed, the buildings of the profound sect were shattered. Let this old man send you on your way with this floating life demon emperor. On the other side, the 9 people in charge of the 4 swords, 5 ultimate god-killing array were all injured except for Yang Kai. This broken spirit array is really sturdy. If we can't break it, I'm afraid the madam will punish us. It's not the madam who's afraid. It's Yin Daoxing. The Peak Grand Supreme Realm Bodhisect protectors attacked together once more. Cracking sounds could be heard coming from the 4 swords, 5 ultimate god-killing array. Long Lin, Xianggu, and the others coughed up blood again. Damn it, the Southern Border's principles can't be used at their full strength here, Xianggu said helplessly. She looked at the other Wind and Moon Immortals, who were not in good condition either. If we can't hold them off, you guys can retreat first. I'll stop them alone, Yang Kai said resolutely. He knew in his heart that this spirit array was not at its peak, and this was the first time they were using it. They did not seem to be able to exert its full strength like Lin Yu. It was only a matter of time before the 5-peak Grand Peak Bodhisect protectors broke the spirit array. Left Emissary Yang, if you want to fight, let's fight together. That's right. When has low-profile sect ever left one of our own behind? Qin Ji, Qin Wunyan, and the others also exerted their Grand Peak strength and integrated it into the spirit array. Jian Shi, and the others also unleashed their sword chi with the 4 sacred sword arts. If we had sect masters' sword Dao attainments, this spirit array would definitely be much stronger. They nodded helplessly at the same time. Sect master must have another way. We just need to believe in him. Even though Long Lin and the others' auras were weak, the determination in their eyes did not diminish in the slightest. Elder Long is right. When has our sect master ever lost a battle? While low-profile sect was still resisting the attacks, suddenly, the profound Gate 8 trigrams array on the south side was broken. The sound of the spirit array breaking rang out continuously, echoing throughout the entire profound gate. Die, all of you! Madame Bodhi was bathed in blood. She did not care about her injuries at all, and forcibly broke the spirit array of the 8 great elders. Oh no! Xianggu and the others' hearts tightened. The south side was broken. This was not a good sign. But then, the sound of collapsing came from the west side of the profound gate. It was the sound of mechas more than 100 feet tall collapsing. In the sky above the west side, the pale-faced vice sect master smiled coldly. Even though his aura was in chaos, he could not hide the pride in his eyes. The fact that the profound gate mechas can hold on until now shows that your reputation as the #1 forging sect is not in vain. He looked down and spoke in a low voice. The auras of the demon floating life sect cultivators behind him erupted at the same time, crushing down on Mu Qing Qing and the others below. The mechas broke apart again. Young master, Ching Ching has lost. Mu Ching Ching was filled with regret. If she had more time and completely grasped the secrets of the mechas that Lin Yu had mentioned, she did not believe that she would lose to the demon floating life sect. But now, these mechas were not in perfect condition, and her own combat strength was not enough. Under the Vice Sect Master's many attacks, Mu Ching Ching was already covered in wounds, even though she was inside the mecha. Damn it, just a little bit more. Mu Zhan gritted his teeth and shook his head continuously. I'm afraid that my profound gate will die here today. Mu Zhan, you old thief. After fighting for so many years, I did not expect you to die in the hands of the demon floating life sect. Chapter 301. Qian Dalong's voice rang out. Mu Zhan shook his head helplessly. Those old fellows have also lost. He looked towards the 8 trigrams formation. We're really old, Qian Dalong said indignantly. Then the deputy sect master situation isn't much better. With that, Qian Dalong stepped into the air, and the mechas below began to vibrate again. He looked down at those mechas. How many years has it been? I've long forgotten that our Qian sect still has such powerful mechas. Qian Dalong's hand formed a claw, and Mu Qingqing was immediately enveloped by a gentle aura. You're the last hope of our Qian sect. Quick, go find Master Lin. With a wave of his hand, Mu Qingqing's body immediately flew uncontrollably towards the courtyard. You want to leave? The deputy sect master's gaze landed on Mu Qingqing. How could he not know that the mecha just now was controlled by Mu Qingqing, and Qian Dalong and the rest were just assistants? But Mu Qingqing was only 12 years old, and she already had such potential. If such a person were to grow up in the future, she wouldn't be someone he could defeat with serious injuries like he was today. Die for me. The deputy sect master gritted his teeth. He was determined to kill Mu Qingqing here. But the moment he made his move, 2 flames suddenly rose into the air and rushed towards him. Mu Zhan, you old thief, I have no children, but you have such a good child like Qingqing. I'm not as good as you in this aspect. In one of the flames, Qian Dalong's fat body was constantly burning. He was using the last of his Grand Supreme aura to exchange for a final blow. In the other flame, Mu Zhan also smiled knowingly. But the one who saved Qingqing in the end was still you. Qian Dalong, I, Mu Zhan, will win against you today, no matter what. Their laughter spread throughout the west side. These 2 old enemies who had fought for half their lives actually had a common goal at this moment. Mu Qingqing's face was covered in tears as she watched her father and Qian Dalong rush towards the deputy sect master of the demon sect of bliss. And she could only gradually move further away, unable to do anything at all. Rumble. At the west side of the Qian sect, 2 streaks of fiery light burst out from the clouds, resounding through the entire sky. That's Master Qian, Patriarch Mo. Inside the broken 8 trigrams formation of the celestial sect of wonders on the south side, the 8 great elders had also sensed the aura of the explosion. They are dead. Goddamn bliss life demon sect. Today, the celestial sect of wonders was in shambles. These elders were also furious. They were so angry that their fighting strength exploded. Today, even if this old man's bones are broken, I will take down that old witch Madame Beauty. That's right. Zhang Lingyi deserved to die in the hands of Master Lin. This old witch is too much. Does she really think that there's no one in the Qian sect who can stand up to her? As if their fighting spirit had been ignited by Qian Dalong's death, the remaining 8 elders charged towards Madame Beauty. Then you'll be buried with my son. In front of the law energy palm, the 8 great elders all spat out a mouthful of blood. However, their power of the exalts also converged and surrounded Madame Beauty. Rumble. The second round of battle also resounded from the south. On the land of the celestial sect of wonders, cries of agony could be heard continuously. Ever since the mechas on the west had been defeated, the demon cult of Bliss's army had already surged into the Mystic Gate. The army attacked like locusts. The land of the Mystic Gate was filled with cracks and countless casualties. The flames in the sky on the west gradually disappeared. Outside the thick smoke, a figure descended. It was the vice sect master of the demon cult of bliss. Damned Xian sect. Cough. He stabilized his body in the air, but at the same time he felt something sweet in his throat and coughed out a large mouthful of blood. At this moment, the law in his body had already shattered. He would probably not be able to advance in his cultivation for the rest of his life. In the sky, Qian Dalong and Mu Zhan were already dead. However, before they died, they also gave the vice sect master a fatal blow. I want no one in the Xian sect to survive. The vice sect master gritted his teeth and entered the battle below. How could these low-level forces of the Xian sect withstand the combined attack of the demon cult and the Bodhi sect's army? In less than an hour, they had already retreated in defeat and were retreating in the direction of the Xian sect's central courtyard. North, the third law realm expert, brought by the Black Sky sect and the demon cult, was also exhausted. The Black Sky sect master is only SOSO. Demons of the demon cult, if not for me. Cough. The Black Sky sect shook his head helplessly. His strength was not as strong as before after Si Junlin. Otherwise, he would not have been unable to defeat the third sect master of the demon cult in front of him. If this was in the past, where would he put his face as the leader of the Xian sect? East, west, south, you people of the Xian sect have already been defeated. From today onwards, the demon cult of bliss will be the only sect in the inner region. That person laughed coldly. Even if they could not take down the Black Sky sect, the three sides had already won. Even the Four Swords 5 ultimate god-killing formation was broken by the Bodhi sect guardians a few minutes ago. At this moment, the battle was already one-sided. The only sect. The Black Sky sect laughed loudly, and his gaze fell on Lady Bodhi on the west. At this moment, Lady Bodhi was covered in blood. She could defeat the 8 elders, but she was also injured to the extreme. Mayor, Yin Daosheng is lying to you. The Black Sky sect said in a low voice, but his voice could not be heard. When the leader takes down the central courtyard, Black Sky sect, I will give you a chance to kill yourself. The third sect master of the demon cult of bliss said coldly. He and the Black Sky sect could no longer fight, and neither of them had any intention of attacking. However, if either of them attacked the other 4 sides of the battlefield, the other person would definitely stop them at the cost of his own injuries. From the beginning, you only needed to delay me. The Black Sky sect asked. The leader only wanted me to delay you, the third sect master said with a smirk. That person smiled proudly. The sect leader's grand strategy is not something you can match. The inner area is destined to be the sect leaders. Yin Daosheng. The Black Sky sect looked towards the central courtyard. There, Mei was already at her limit, and Yin Daosheng was also injured. Yin Daosheng is very ambitious and capable. However, I have someone here who is even more powerful than him. The Black Sky sect laughed coldly. The demon cult of bliss frowned and questioned, I think you have gone senile. The elites of the 3 sects are all here today. Who else can be the leader's match? The Black Sky sect did not speak, but his gaze fell on the Elders' Hall. He knew Lin Yu's character well. From the beginning of the war until now, Lin Yu had not appeared. This did not seem like something Lin Yu would normally do. This person wanted to take the initiative to attack and strategize. He had been hiding for so long. Once he appeared, it would be the end of the war. The central courtyard of the profound sect. Inside the Elders' Hall, terrifying yin and yang auras constantly merged. When Lin Yu first stepped into the yin-yang realm, his yin-yang glory chi was already comparable to the Grand Supreme realm. This time, there were 3 auras comparable to the Grand Supreme realm merging at the same time. Chapter 3:02. I don't have enough power. Lin Yu frowned. He had been sitting cross-legged with his eyes closed, but he could vaguely hear the commotion outside. Just as he had guessed, even the 4 sides could only block the demon cult of bliss and Bodhi sect's attacks for a while. That was why he ignored Mei and rushed back to break through to the yin-yang realm. Power! I need more power. Lin Yu gritted his teeth. In an instant, his eyes widened. Outer realm. At this moment, the demon beast forest was littered with corpses. In the center of the demon beast forest, a low roar suddenly came from the demon cavern. Food. It's all food. That voice came from Heiyu. Lin Yu's demon cavern's secret realm had succeeded. This place had attracted the people of the Emperor's Gate. Clearly, these people had underestimated the power of the demon cavern and died here. Inside the demon cavern, it seemed to sense Lin Yu's desire for power. Suddenly, a terrifying power broke through the demon cavern's barrier, broke through the sky of Jisha Library, and instantly reached the outer realm's world-crossing door. Outside the world-crossing door, there was a rebound force that seemed to block this power. However, in an instant, the power of the demon cavern directly broke a hole in the world-crossing door. At this moment, in the core area of the Emperor's Gate star field, on a huge continent floating in the depths of the starry sky, an old man suddenly sat cross-legged. However, at this moment, he seemed to sense something and suddenly opened his eyes. Who is breaking the rules of the star field? His divine will instantly spread out and passed through one spatial shackle after another. When it descended again, it was already above the world-crossing door. At this moment, above the world-crossing door, the old man's divine will turned into an eyeball and appeared in the sky. No one could detect him. However, everything that happened below was seen by him. However, after a long time, this divine will seem to be unable to find anything and disappeared helplessly. The world-crossing door was as usual. Just as the old man's eyeball left, behind the world-crossing door, Heiyu's power in the demon cavern had already entered the inner realm. In the courtyard of the celestial sect, Yin Daosheng once again struck Mei with his palm. At this moment, Charm's aura was in chaos, and the power of laws on her body was showing signs of breaking. Especially after Yin Daosheng's final attack, the Charm's laws had begun to leave her body. If you take another hit from me, I'm afraid your cultivation will be crippled. Yin Daosheng coldly said, It's not easy for you to have such a cultivation at such a young age. If you're willing to join my sect, I can make you a vice sect master in the future. How about it? Even with Yin Daosheng's current situation, he was about to be the biggest winner. But Yin Daosheng still couldn't help but admire him. After all, Mei was the first to last so long in his hands. Don't even think about it. Even if my cultivation is crippled, I won't let you hurt him. Mei said resolutely. Her tone was heavy. Yin Daosheng could hear the determination in her voice. It was not something he could change. Since that's the case, this old man will send you on your way. Yin Daosheng raised his palm, and under the effect of black magic, the huge demonic shadow locked onto Mei's position as if she was its prey. In the next moment, the demonic shadow raised a huge black hand just like Yin Daosheng. Whoosh! The black hand fell, and there was a terrifying sound of air being torn apart. And Mei's position just happened to be right above the Elder's Hall. Yin Daosheng had calculated the angle of this palm. If Mei dodged, the palm strike would strike the Elder Hall. If she didn't dodge, Yin Daosheng would have won this battle. Before the palm arrived, the huge wind pressure had already caused the gauze on Mei's body to flutter. Her aura erupted. For the first time, the law of destruction no longer had an attacking attitude. Instead, it turned into a golden lotus flower. Undying holy lotus, protect him well, Mei muttered to herself. Her gaze fell in the direction of the Elder's Hall, where Lin Yu was. Finally, I don't have to choose between you and Nu Ba. No one heard her words, because these words were originally said to herself. The palm continued to approach. The ground of the Xian sect's courtyard had already collapsed under the wind pressure. The ground distorted, wind and moon reversed. Mei closed her eyes. The golden lotus flower continued to expand. Like a shield, it blocked between the black demonic palm and the Elder's Hall, as if it wanted to take all the damage. Boom! The palm force was as easy as crushing dry weeds. The golden lotus flower had 9 petals, but at this moment, these 9 petals kept shattering. 1 flower, 3 flowers, 7 flowers. Mei kept spitting out blood. The injuries on her body were even more serious than when she saw Lin Yu at the seaside. "I can't retreat." The palm force struck, and Yin Daoxing roared. The black demonic palm force showed even more killing intent, determined to kill Mei. But it was also at this moment that a figure slowly appeared in the Elder's Hall. A moment ago, he was still outside the Elder's Hall. The next moment, he was already between Mei and Yin Daoxing. That person waved his hand. When the last petal of the golden lotus flower shattered, the black demonic palm force fell. Lin Yu's wave just happened to collide with the palm force. No! Mei was worried and wanted to stop him. That was Yin Daoxing's full-strength attack, a peak attack of the first firmament of the Law Realm. However, Lin Yu wrapped one hand around her willowy waist. "If you're worried, hug me tightly." After saying that, Mei suddenly felt a majestic force surge in her body, constantly expelling Yin Daoxing's law injuries from her body. "Your power." Mei looked at Lin Yu in surprise. She was stunned to realize that the black demonic palm from Yin Daoxing could not fall at all, and Lin Yu's power appeared in her body at the same time. This was the first time she had felt such power. What is this? It was not the law, not the power of the Supreme, nor was it glory chi. Mei's heart was filled with doubts. Why did this guy's cultivation method always exceed her understanding? "The power of the Supreme," Lin Yu said casually. He looked at the broken battle on the west side in the distance. His divine sense spread out and instantly sensed Qian Dalong and Mu Zhan's glory chi. It was scattered around the west side, and their vitality. Lin Yu sighed softly. He did not need to think to know that Qian Dalong and Mu Zhan were dead. His divine sense locked onto the vice sect master who was crazily killing the people of the celestial sect of Wonders Below. Lin Yu closed his eyes. The moment he closed his eyes, two figures appeared above the vice sect master of the demon sect of bliss. "Who is it?" He raised his head in shock and saw that Lin Yu and Mei had already appeared above his head. "You, how did you do it?" Mei stared at Lin Yu in shock. When she looked back again, she saw that Yin Daoxing had also lost their pursuit in an instant just now. At this moment, he was coming from the west side of the courtyard. The basic skills of the Supreme Realm. Chapter 303. Lin Yu smiled faintly. When he stepped out, he had already appeared in front of the deputy sect master. "You're courting death." The deputy sect master was shocked. He did not know how Lin Yu had appeared without him noticing. However, he sensed that Lin Yu's aura was only the Grand Supreme Realm. Even though his current combat strength was no longer at the first firmament of the Law Realm in his peak state. However, a starving camel was still bigger than a horse. Killing intent flashed in the deputy sect master's eyes as he attacked Lin Yu. Whoosh! He struck out with his palm, but Lin Yu disappeared again. When he reappeared, he was already in the Mecca below. "You've killed so many people from the Xian sect. I suddenly want to kill you with something from the Xian sect." Lin Yu's lips curled up as he entered the Mecca. "Arrogant! Who are you?" The deputy sect master was shocked by Lin Yu again. How could this kid's movement technique be so elusive? However, he did not have any time to think. On the ground below, dozens of mechas had been scattered, but at this moment, they suddenly shook. "Young master." Mu Qingqing stood outside the Elder's Hall and saw Lin Yu walk out of the Elder's Hall and block Yin Daoxing's fatal attack. However, what shocked her even more was that Lin Yu disappeared from the Elder's Hall in an instant and appeared on the west side. Even a powerhouse of Yin Daoxing's level could not keep up. "Did young master go to the west side because I'm here?" Mu Qingqing gritted her teeth and stared at the mecha that had merged again. This time, young master is controlling it. "I want to see it clearly. I want to see it clearly." Her eyes were filled with tears. Mu Zhan's death was still in her heart. Mu Qingqing did not have many feelings for her father since she was young, but at the critical moment, just now, her father and Qian Dalong had protected her. Mu Qingqing wanted power now. If she could master everything Lin Yu taught her, perhaps her father would not have died. On the west side, dozens of huge mechas stood up like golden bodies of the Grand Supreme Realm. The world around the vice sect master instantly turned black. Impossible, impossible. The people operating the mecha are all dead. He desperately shook his head and retreated. He didn't even need to fight to know that he was going to lose. In the beginning, he was still at his peak. Naturally, he could join forces with the other members of the demonic sect to defeat these mechas by a narrow margin. But this time, he could feel that this mecha was different. You can't control so many mechas by yourself. The Vice Sect leader leaped into the air and used the last of his strength to destroy one of the giant mechas. A path of survival appeared. He didn't think about anything else. He increased his speed, wanting to escape and ascend into the heavens. But in the next moment, the shattered mecha actually reassembled at a speed visible to the naked eye. Why? Why is this happening? His mind was in turmoil as he retreated. However, he was suddenly hit by a terrifying fist force behind him. The sound of wind breaking could be heard. It was the fist of another mecha, and it directly smashed the Vice Sect leader to the ground. Bastard, you dare to hurt my people? Yin Daosheng stepped into the air. When he wanted to threaten them, he saw dozens of mechas lifting their feet at the same time. He stomped towards the place where the Vice Sect master was standing. It was as if they didn't hear Yin Daosheng's words at all. It wasn't just the Vice Sect leader. Even the other members of the demonic sect of floating life were constantly crying out in pain. But the mechas were like killing machines. They swept all the way and drowned half of the demonic sect of floating life's army. When Lin Yu's figure appeared again, the mechas finally stopped. But below, the demonic sect of floating life's corpses were strewn everywhere. The death situation was much more tragic than that of the Xian sect. At this time, people from other directions finally noticed Lin Yu's appearance. Sect leader, Master Lin, the master has made his move. The number 1 Forge master has finally made his move. Lin Yu stood with his hands behind his back. His eyes met Yin Daosheng's. Mei stood behind Lin Yu and whispered, "He's very strong, but I can't help you now." Her injuries were too serious. Lin Yu smiled faintly. "Find a place to rest. You've done very well." In Yin Daosheng's direction, Yin Xiaoxiao and Madame Bodhi also appeared at the same time. "Today, I will make you pay with your blood for killing my son." Madame Bodhi's figure shot over. She circulated her Law Realm aura and struck out with her palm. She was already within 3 feet of Lin Yu. However, Lin Yu's gaze was incomparably calm. He didn't move at all. When the palm landed in front of Lin Yu, it was blocked by an air wall. What? Madame Bodhi's pupils constricted as she looked at all of this in surprise. If Mei had made her move, it wouldn't be strange for her to block her attack. But who was this Lin Yu? Why couldn't she even break his air wall? Impossible, impossible. Just as Madame Bodhi was about to change her move, she saw Lin Yu's figure suddenly disappear from her sight. In the next instant, Madame Bodhi felt her vision darken. Her entire face was covered by a palm. With her Law Realm cultivation, her face was actually covered by a palm without her noticing. Madame Bodhi was shocked and immediately unleashed her cultivation. But in an instant, she felt an incomparably huge force coming from the palm, directly tilting her back. Whoosh! In the next moment, Madame Bodhi felt as if the world had turned upside down. Only the whistling of wind could be heard. Boom! Before everyone could even react, Madame Beauty had already been smashed into the ground. The ground shattered. Smoke and dust filled the air. Everyone was shocked. For a long time, they didn't see Madame Bodhi appear again. She can't be dead, right? How is this possible? He defeated Madame Bodhi in one move? That's a Law Realm expert that even the 8 great elders can't deal with. However, Lin Yu's gaze was still incomparably calm. He only raised his hand. Behind him, Mei immediately handed over a handkerchief. She remembered that Lin Yu also had this habit when he killed Zhang Lingyi in the Bodhi sect, but at that time, it was Yao Ge who handed over the handkerchief. "Young Master Lin, you're stronger than last time." Yin Xiaoxiao looked down in shock. Although she sensed that Madame Bodhi was still alive, her aura showed that she could no longer fight. Lin Yu directly crippled a Law Realm expert in one move? How is this possible? Even if Madame Bodhi's combat strength was no longer at her peak, she was at least at the late stage of the Grand Supreme Realm. Lin Yu didn't say that he could deal with her, but with just one move, this was beyond Yin Xiaoxiao's understanding. Hearing Yin Xiaoxiao's words, Lin Yu still minded his own business and wiped his hands clean. He returned the handkerchief to Mei. Yin Daoxing stared warily at Lin Yu and then said, "This old man heard about you from my daughter, Your Excellency. Unexpectedly, Your Excellency's combat strength is much more powerful than my daughter described." Chapter 304. First, it was the Vice Sect Master, then Madame Beauty. Lin Yu had dealt with their two main forces the moment he appeared. How could Yin Daoxing not be afraid of this person? Yin Xiaoxiao, what else did you say? Lin Yu smiled faintly and ignored Yin Daoxing. A trace of killing intent flashed in the latter's vicious eyes. Obviously, he was very dissatisfied with Lin Yu's disregard of him. However, he also noticed that his daughter subconsciously took a step back, as if she had done something wrong. I just did what I should do, Lin Yu. Yin Xiaoxiao gritted her teeth and looked at the battlefield. The smell of blood and destruction kept coming. She lowered her head. Lin Yu, will you pledge allegiance to us? Hearing this, Lin Yu just smiled and raised his eyebrows at Yin Daoxing. Pledge allegiance? What do you think? Hearing this, Yin Xiaoxiao's heart tightened, and she quickly answered for Yin Daoxing. My father has promised me that as long as you pledge allegiance, you and the subtle sect will be fine. But Lin Yu didn't care about her words at all. Instead, he took a step forward and appeared in front of Yin Daoxing. There was only a distance of 5 feet between the two. I'm asking you a question. Lin Yu smiled faintly. No one had ever dared to talk to Yin Daoxing like this. This scene immediately made the hair on Yin Xiaoxiao's back stand on end. Her jade-like hands at her sleeves were tightly clenched and sweaty from nervousness. My daughter's words are my words. Yin Daoxing smiled. Lin Yu, you're a rare talent. You should know the meaning of a wise man submits to circumstances. After joining, what position will I have in the floating life demonic sect? Lin Yu's tone was calm. How bold. No one has ever dared to talk terms with me. Yin Daoxing laughed heartily. The battle gradually came to a stop at this moment. Everyone's eyes turned to this side. At this moment, Lin Yu's victory or defeat would determine the outcome of the entire war. It's over. Yin Daoxing is best at bewitching people. If Master Lin wavers, he'll definitely be taken in by the Bliss demonic sect. Then aren't we dead for sure? The people of the celestial sect of wonders were all in danger. Only the people from the low-key sect exchanged glances and smiled. Sect leader seems to be very confident. Since he has appeared, it means that we have won this battle. Long Lin and Lu Wuhan laughed. Qin Ji, Yang Kai, and the others also had a chance to catch their breath because of the changes on Lin Yu's side. The people of the Floating Life Demon Cult have all gathered over there and attacked the Bodhi sect protectors on the east side. Because Madame Bodhi was defeated by the sect master, they are all heading to the west. Qin Ji was worried about Lin Yu's safety and immediately gave the order. In an instant, the people from the low-key sect also gathered behind Lin Yu. Since you mentioned it, this old man can promise you that you will be the vice sect leader of the Floating Life Demon Cult. Yin Daoxing smiled, and his divine sense also detected the situation below. You kill my vice sect leader, so I'll make you my vice sect leader. This is a good deal. He showed a look of appreciation for Lin Yu. This scene also made Yin Xiaoxiao, who was standing to the side, breathe a sigh of relief. But then, she heard Lin Yu's laughter. But I'm too ambitious. Vice sect leader may not be able to satisfy me. Oh, Yin Daoxing narrowed his eyes slightly, still not showing any anger on his face. Then what do you want? Lin Yu smiled faintly. I want the position of Lord of the Inner Area. That's what you want too. Yin Xiaoxiao's pretty face immediately changed when she heard this. At the same time, Yin Daoxing's face no longer concealed his killing intent. Your ambition is not small, but you have such ambition at such a young age. Aren't you afraid that you will be strangled in the cradle if you say it out loud? Yin Daoxing's voice was full of warning. Father, Lin Yu didn't mean that. Yin Xiaoxiao immediately stood up, wanted to help Lin Yu smooth things over. But Yin Daoxing had already lost his patience with Lin Yu. Say no more, Xiao Xiao. You've misjudged him. Behind Yin Daosheng, Heimo's 300-meter-tall law incarnation rose from the ground. Lin Yu was like an ant in front of a mountain, but he still smiled faintly. It seems that you don't agree. He knew Yin Daosheng's character. This person was very ambitious and suspicious. He could only be a fierce and ruthless person. What he wanted to do was to say what Yin Daosheng wanted the most and tear off the hypocritical mask that wanted to take him in. Obviously, Yin Daosheng wanted to kill Lin Yu at this moment. Father. Yin Xiaoxiao looked at the tense scene and wanted to persuade, but she was directly blown away by Heimo's aura. Under the strong wind pressure, Yin Xiaoxiao couldn't get close to the battle, and Lin Yu's position was also surrounded by Heimo's giant storm at this moment. I guess that even if I agree, you'll still kill me, right? Lin Yu said calmly. His voice was immediately lost in the storm. Yin Daosheng said coldly in the storm, I'm just giving my daughter an explanation. Don't take it seriously and think that you're worthy of her. In the storm, Heimo stomped on Lin Yu. Only the Emperor's Gate is where she belongs. And you, Lin Yu, are just her misplaced feelings. Yin Daosheng's killing intent enveloped Lin Yu without reservation. From the beginning, he had been determined to kill Lin Yu. In the distance, Yin Xiaoxiao only saw that Lin Yu and Yin Daosheng were about to fight. She didn't know anything else. Why? Why won't you agree to my father's request? Yin Xiaoxiao looked at Lin Yu with resentment. On one hand, she hated Lin Yu for not agreeing to her father's request. On the other hand, Yin Xiaoxiao was worried that Lin Yu would die in her father's hands. Black magic is just SOSO. Lin Yu smiled faintly. Suddenly, a golden stream of light appeared on his body. His arms, chest, legs, and even his hair had turned from black to gold. The Grand Supreme Golden Body seems to be different too. Lin Yu looked at his hand. Even his palm had turned golden. He slowly raised his head, and his gaze met the Heimo's foot. Then let's see how strong I am after stepping into the Grand Supreme stage from the three elements in one yin-yang state. Lin Yu stepped out and went around his shoulder to meet the Heimo's foot. The two footprints, which were originally as different as heaven and earth, matched each other at this moment. What? Yin Daosheng's eyes widened. He couldn't believe that his black magic was blocked by Lin Yu. Go to hell. He increased his strength. However, no matter how hard he tried, Lin Yu was still in the air. He didn't even move. Lin Yu slowly raised his head. I don't think I can maintain this state for long. As soon as he finished speaking, he disappeared under the Heimo's giant. Chapter 305. Boom! Without Lin Yu's obstruction, the Stygian demon giant stomped on the ground, shattering countless buildings. But Yin Daosheng's pupils dilated. Everyone thought that he had hit Lin Yu, but only Yin Daosheng knew that he had missed because a golden fist was rapidly enlarging in front of him. Yin Daosheng wanted to dodge, but the fist was too fast for him to react. With a bang, the fist and the body collided. A loud sound reverberated in the Stygian demon giant's head. The entire Xian sect seemed to be affected by this sound, and everyone stopped what they were doing. Is that Sect Master? Yin Daosheng, was he hit? Yin Daosheng was inside the giant's head. No, that's impossible. Yin Daosheng lowered his head and looked at his chest, where the golden fist was still there. What? What is this? He was shocked to find that Lin Yu's fist contained power. It seemed to be Grand Supreme, but it was stronger than the laws. How could it be? A real golden body. Lin Yu said calmly, you can call it the indestructible golden body. His Buddha body had been completely absorbed by the 3-in-1 Grand Supreme realm, and Lin Yu's current state was his own golden body. Indestructible golden body. Yin Daosheng gritted his teeth and spat out another mouthful of blood. From what he knew, the golden body was an avatar formed by the Grand Supreme power of the Grand Supreme realm. The avatar was separated from the main body, but it could be understood as another giant avatar controlled by the main body. But Lin Yu's indestructible golden body was a fusion of the main body and the golden body. Yin Daosheng had never heard of such a thing. However, It was this indestructible golden body that broke the Stygian demon's boundary with one punch and landed on his chest. In the outside world, the hearts of the onlookers were in turmoil as they watched the black demon giant disappear. Master Lin, another punch? First, it was Madame Bodhi, and now it's the demon's sex leader. Heavens! Not only is the great master's forging skill the best in the world, but his combat strength is also so terrifying. At first, Yin Xiaoxiao was still worried about Lin Yu. But now, she saw Lin Yu in his golden body state withdraw his fist and grab Yin Daosheng's throat with one hand. The one who lost wasn't Lin Yu, but Yin Daosheng. No. Yin Xiaoxiao threw caution to the wind and charged forward. Her grand supreme realm cultivation erupted as she tried to stop Lin Yu from killing her father. However, she saw a wall of air blocking her way. That was Lin Yu's grand supreme aura. Amidst the rumbling, Yin Xiaoxiao's supreme power seemed to have encountered its nemesis, and it was actually unable to shake Lin Yu's strength in the slightest. Lin Yu, I beg you, let my father go. Yin Xiaoxiao's eyes glistened with tears. We were wrong. We were wrong. However, Lin Yu, who was behind the wall of air, didn't have the slightest change in his expression even after hearing Yin Xiaoxiao's words. Very good. You're ruthless enough. This is what you're made for. Yin Daosheng witnessed this scene, and his hoarse voice resounded. He was lifted up by Lin Yu, and the indestructible golden body's strength could take his life at any time. I lost. I didn't expect that I didn't lose to the Xian sect or the Bodhi sect, but to you. Yin Daosheng couldn't help but mock himself. If I had listened to Xiaoxiao's words and sincerely recruited you from the start, wouldn't I have lost to you? Lin Yu, would we have ended up like this? What he meant was that he already regretted going against Lin Yu. Even under Yin Xiaoxiao's request, Yin Daosheng only pretended to agree at the beginning. He couldn't let his daughter waste her precious time on a weakling in the transcendent realm. Only by killing Lin Yu would Yin Xiaoxiao obediently marry into the Emperor's sect and become the bridge for the demon cult to step into the core star territory. However, Yin Daosheng now saw Lin Yu's potential. How was this the transcendent realm weakling in the demon cult's informant's report? This was a monster whose combat power was even stronger than his first level of the law as soon as he stepped into the supreme realm. Yin Daosheng actually misjudged such a powerful figure. You and I will still end up where we are now. You don't need to regret it. Lin Yu's calm voice resounded. Good, very good. Yin Daosheng raised the corner of his mouth. Thank you. With Lin Yu's words, at least he didn't have to die with regret. Lin Yu, stop. Yin Xiaoxiao was already sobbing. Crack. However, Lin Yu didn't even look at her. He exerted force, and only the sound of a throat breaking could be heard. The sect master of the demonic sect was dead. Lin Yu swung his hand, and Yin Daosheng's corpse directly smashed into the ground. Time seemed to have stopped at this moment. The cult leader is dead. Damn it, how is this possible? Lin Yu killed the deputy cult leader, and now he's killed the cult leader. The scene of Yin Daosheng's death made all the demon cult members' hearts turn cold. They no longer had the courage to continue invading Xian's sect. The deputy cult leader was also dead, and Madame Bodhi was defeated. Even the rest of the Bodhi sect began to flee in all directions. They didn't dare to seek revenge on Lin Yu. Now, they only wanted to save their lives when they were defeated. Sect leader, those people, Yang Kai, Qin Wunyan, and the others had already come to Lin Yu's side. Lin Yu looked down at Yin Xiaoxiao and didn't answer the left and right messengers. Now, Yin Xiaoxiao was hugging her father's corpse, staring at Lin Yu with hatred. Lin Yu stepped on the air and landed. His golden body had already dissipated because it had reached its limit. When he landed, a sense of weakness surged up from his legs. However, his gaze was fixed on Yin Xiaoxiao. Kill me. Yin Xiaoxiao closed her eyes. At this moment, the Black Sky sect and the elders had already taken down most of the demon cult and Bodhi sect's high-level combatants. The people from Loki's sect waited behind Lin Yu, waiting for his command. Don't leave anyone alive. Lin Yu's tone was incomparably calm. He raised his hand, and Qin Ji handed him a clean handkerchief. Under Yin Xiao's gaze, Lin Yu wiped the blood off his hand unhurriedly. It was her father's blood. Lin Yu's expression was terrifyingly calm, as if the blood in his hand was just an ordinary filth that didn't represent anything. We'll leave this to the Grandmaster. Everyone, we're going to clean up the battlefield. The Black Sky sect could see that Lin Yu was going to deal with Yin Xiao personally, so they immediately sent everyone away. In this small battlefield, only Yin Xiao and Lin Yu were left. Yin Xiao was still Yin Xiaoxing's corpse. Lin Yu threw away the handkerchief and put down his clean hand. No one could see the determination he had when he met a god. In front of strangers, he seemed to be just a gentle and ordinary person. But now, everyone in the inner area knew that this was an invincible combat power. From killing Zhang Lingyi, seriously injuring Madame Bodhi, to killing the demon cult's sect leader and vice-sect leader. No one dared to look at Lin Yu's Grand Supreme aura anymore, because his true combat power couldn't be measured by Grand Supreme aura. Chapter 306. Just kill me. Yin Xiao's eyes were no longer as bright as before. All that was left was the sorrow of her father's death and the defeat of the Devil Sect. Cries of agony could be heard from the battlefield. After Lin Yu gave the order, the battle had turned into a one-sided battle. The battle here had become one-sided. The demonic sect and the Bodhi sect had suffered heavy casualties. As for the people of the celestial sect of wonders after Lin Yu's breakthrough, they consecutively defeated the three strongest combatants of the other side and completely turned the situation around. You can leave. Lin Yu's tone was emotionless. But Yin Daosheng has to pay the price for this battle. How could Yin Xiao not understand what Lin Yu meant? So many people from a Xin sect had died. She couldn't let her father, the culprit, leave. What Lin Yu did was right for the Xin sect. But what she hated was Lin Yu. If he had agreed to her in the beginning, the situation wouldn't be so bad. My father has agreed. If you're willing to join the Devil sect, you and the people from the low-profile sect will be fine. Yin Xiao gritted her teeth and said in a hoarse voice, with your ability, you can choose not to help the Xin sect. You can. Lin Yu turned his face and didn't explain. No one heard the conversation between Yin Daosheng and him before he died, including Yin Daosheng's regret. No ifs. Lin Yu turned around and didn't look at Yin Xiao anymore. At the same time, he waved his right hand and Yin Xiao felt an overbearing pushing force. She and Yin Daosheng's corpses were sent flying into the sky. There, a formation was activated by Lin Yu. The teleportation power enveloped Yin Xiao. She immediately understood that Lin Yu wanted to send her away. But she didn't notice when the teleportation formation was here. Lin Yu, you want to send me away? Aren't you afraid that I'll come back and take revenge on you one day? Yin Xiao said in the air. Half of her body was already in the teleportation formation. You've never taken me seriously. Yin Xiao did not hear a single word from Lin Yu until she completely disappeared from this place. At the same time that Yin Xiao disappeared between the core area and the inner area, a huge Kuan Peng was approaching the Xian Gate at an extremely fast speed. The moment the Kuan Peng passed by, Yin Xiao's figure appeared in the void. She didn't expect to appear here. However, as the teleportation light on her body gradually dissipated, Yin Xiao understood that Lin Yu had deliberately sent her here. Behind her was the only gate that separated the inner realm from the core realm. This gate was similar to the realm-crossing gate in the outer realms, separating the two star fields. However, the difference was that the realm-crossing gate in the outer realm only required the power of laws to open. Apart from the Emperor's Gate, anyone from the inner area who wanted to enter the Dao Gate would have to go through a trial with a saber. That was the Realm Guardian's blade. Yin Xiao stood in front of the realm-crossing gate, her eyes dim. She knew that Lin Yu had given her a choice to leave the inner area or stay here. Yin Xiao took out a token from her storage ring. On the token, there was a terrifying head of a demonic beast carved on it. It was the token of one of the core 8 Emperor's Gates, the Shura Emperor's Gate. It was also the marriage that Yin Daosheng had agreed to for her. I thought I'd never need it. A teardrop fell from Yin Xiaoxiao's beautiful eyes as she resolutely crushed the token. In the next moment, the realm-crossing gate in front of her began to shake. The inner area's Xian Gate. The battle had ended. The Xian Gate had suffered heavy losses, but fortunately, they had preserved their core combat strength. Xian, Tianzong, Si Xiaoxian, and the 8 great elders were still there. The original combat strength of 50,000 people was now less than 20,000. In addition to the deaths of Mu Zhan and Qian Dalong, even though they had won this battle, the air in the Xian Gate was still gloomy. Sect Master, Madame Bodhi has been taken down. The 8 great elders brought Madame Bodhi, who was bound by heavy chains, to Xian Tianzong. They waited for Xian Tianzong's orders. However, Xian Tianzong looked at where Lin Yu was, then looked at Madame Bodhi. Forget it, let the Grandmaster decide. In this battle, from the beginning of the formation to the current victory, it was all thanks to Lin Yu. Even though this was the Xian Gate, Xian Tianzong still did not dare to ignore Lin Yu's contributions. In this regard, the 8 great elders also nodded wholeheartedly. After Qian Dalong and Mu Zhan died, Lin Yu avenged them and let the vice sect master of the demonic sect be beaten to death in the mech. They remembered very clearly the scene. They were also grateful to Lin Yu from the bottom of their hearts. Lin Yu looked down at the battle below. Qin Wenyan, Yang Kai, and the other important figures of the low-key sect had also returned to his side. The demonic sect's army of 50,000 and the Bodhi sect's army of 30,000 have all followed the sect master's instructions and left no survivors. Qin Ji bowed and reported, "As for our people, we have tried our best to collect the storage rings of the dead from the 3 sections. I have roughly calculated that there are about 1.5 trillion glory bot." Seeing that Lin Yu was silent, Qin Ji thought that he was a little emotional because he had witnessed the cruelty of the war. Qin Ji stopped talking. She wanted to wait for Lin Yu to recover before continuing. "Go on." Lin Yu's voice sounded, still as calm as water. "Sect Master, are you all right?" Qin Ji asked worriedly. "I'm fine, just a little hungry." Lin Yu touched his abdomen. This scene stunned Qin Ji and the other members of the low-key sect. They really could not figure out the sect master. Lin Yu took out a large amount of glory bot, refined it, and integrated it into his body. He had defeated several opponents in a row. For him, even if he had stepped into the Grand Supreme Realm, it was still a heavy burden. "Put away all the glory bot," Lin Yu said again. Slightly worried, Qin Ji said, "Aren't we leaving some for the Xian sect?" "There's nothing to leave. If I don't take some reward, the Xian Sky sect will be embarrassed to see me." After Lin Yu finished speaking, Qin Ji and the others could not help but laugh. The sect master was still their sect master. "Master Lin," the Xian sect's weapon-forging elder arrived. At the same time, he brought Madame Bodhi to kneel in front of Lin Yu. "The sect master asked us to hand this vicious woman over to you." After the weapon-forging elder finished speaking, he saw low-key Zhong Ru's strong lineup and was in awe. He did not dare to stay any longer and left. Little B Asterisk starred, "I didn't expect you to integrate the power of the Bodhi heart." Madame Bodhi stared viciously at Lin Yu, as if she wanted to skin Lin Yu alive. She knew very well what the power that broke her cultivation method was. It was the power of the Bodhi heart. At the beginning of the Tao End era, the Bodhi sect was just established. After the first sect master died, he left behind the Bodhi heart. Lin Yu stood with his hands behind his back, his eyes showing a deep sense of history. When Madame Bodhi saw this, her heart tightened. She did not dare to make a fuss and quietly waited for Lin Yu to continue. This Bodhi heart can be said to be the first sect master's Tao fruit. It contains the first sect master's understanding of the Tao. The second sect master comprehended the Tao within and also discovered secret. Chapter 307. What secret? Even though she was tied up and her life was in Lin Yu's hands, Madame Beauty was still attracted by Lin Yu's words. Not only her, but Yao Gu, Qin Ji, Yang Kai, and the others from low-profile sect were also attracted. Sect Master always has a different kind of charm when he talks about history. He's so young, but it's as if he knows all the secrets of the world. Qin Ji and Yao Gu said one after another. The secret is that after painstakingly studying it, they discovered that the Bodhi heart could not be completely comprehended through ordinary refinement. So they could only impossible. Madame Pewdie's sharp voice interrupted Lin Yu as she shook her head. Everyone in my Bodhi sect knew that although the Bodhi heart could not be directly refined, it could be completely refined with the help of the variant blood battle body. Lin Yu's lips curled. After the second sect master discovered this secret, he told the third sect master, and guess what happened after that? Madame Pewdie's heart tightened as she questioned Lin Yu. If the refinement method had been found, the third sect master would have already refined it, and your so-called secret would not have existed, because that method was too disrespectful to the first sect master. Even if the second sect master told the third sect master, he did not allow him to refine the Bodhi heart. Lin Yu smiled faintly. Instead, he treated the Bodhi heart as the most precious treasure of the Bodhi sect and passed it down from generation to generation. Such a treasure was reduced to a decoration. Don't you think that's stupid? A treasure reduced to a decoration. Madame Pewdie cast a pleading look at Lin Yu. Disrespectful to the first sect master. What kind of refinement method was it? If she had known this method from the beginning, she might have been able to step into the second layer directly. There were 3 heavenly layers in the law realm, and each layer allowed one to comprehend a new principle, which doubled one's combat power. If she had been at the second layer, the situation today would have been the opposite. The correct refinement method is Lin Yu squatted down because Madame Pewdie was also kneeling. Eating the Bodhi heart is the correct method. No, that's impossible. When Madame Pewdie heard this secret, her eyeballs nearly fell out of their sockets. He had spent so much time thinking about Tang Xian, who had the mutated blood battle constitution. And because of Tang Xian, his son, Zhang Lingyi, had died at the hands of Lin Yu. But now, Lin Yu was telling her that she could just eat it? While she was questioning Lin Yu, the violent aura of Lin Yu's constitution surged at her. Madame Bodhi only felt the cultivation technique in her body tremble instinctively. This was the suppression of the cultivation technique from the Bodhi sect's progenitor. Lin Yu was right. The truth was that Lin Yu had successfully refined the Bodhi heart to achieve such a terrifying constitution. How did you find out about this secret? Madame Bodhi laughed self-deprecatingly. This matter, other than the third sect master, according to what you said, no one else should know. No. Lin Yu shook his head and smiled. Patriarch Bodhi knew. The sect master of the Bodhi sect passed down this secret from generation to generation, but you didn't know because he narrowed his eyes. Madame Bodhi was pressed to the ground, unable to move at all. You killed him, so this secret died with Patriarch Bodhi. During the 100,000 years that Lin Yu had been trapped, Patriarch Bodhi hadn't been killed by Madame Bodhi. He had once entered the top secret place of the Bodhi sect and traded Zhang Lingyi's identity for this secret. Unfortunately, Patriarch Bodhi was already dead after he was freed. After Lin Yu said that, Madame Bodhi's eyes widened. That old man kept a trick from me. She suddenly laughed like crazy. Lin Yu, just kill me. You don't deserve to die in my hands. Lin Yu looked at the sky in the distance. If he was right, someone should be coming. Come with me to greet someone. Lin Yu finished. At this time, Nanru Hongyi slowly walked out from behind Lin Yu. Sect Master, Nanru Hongyi's eyes were red. Her life is yours, Lin Yu said and stepped into the air. The rest of the low-key sect followed, but they had doubts in their hearts. Qinji took the lead and said, Sect Master, everything here has been settled. Who else is coming to the Xian sect? She didn't come for the Xian sect, but for me. Lin Yu smiled expectantly. That person, Elder Yuinga and Qin, you have also seen. A long time ago, the seed planted in Fonwa brothel was about to sprout. At this moment, a strong wind suddenly blew in the sky above the Xian sect. Everyone looked up at the sky and saw a Kuanpeng whistling with its wings, covering the sky and the sun. As soon as this Kunping appeared, the sunset that was about to fall seemed to dissipate early, leaving only a gray land. Lin Yu stood with his hands behind his back, his eyes meeting the eyes of the girl on the Kunping. Lin Yu, 15 years old, ranked 10th on the black roll. The girl on the Kunping's cold voice fell. Qin Wunyan and Yuinga immediately recognized the newcomer. This was a big shot. 10th on the black roll. You should have other questions for me. Lin Yu shook his head helplessly. Obviously, he knew the ranking, but he was still a little unwilling. The girl on the Kunping fell a little and was now level with Lin Yu. You've improved very quickly. She sized up Lin Yu's aura. It seemed to be Grand Supreme, but it also seemed to be different from the ordinary Grand Supreme realm. What else? Lin Yu smiled faintly. Also, I want to hear that song in its entirety. The girl's voice was a little emotional. She was talking about the Guqin duel with Lin Yu in Fengyue brothel. The girl on the Kunping lost to a terrifying song. You shouldn't have asked me about the Guqin Emperor's song. Lin Yu's mocking voice came. The girl on the Kunping's face immediately froze. In an instant, a tyrannical power emanated from her body and enveloped Lin Yu in an instant. Isn't she in the invincible realm? Yuingo was stunned. When they first met at the Fengyue clan, she only knew that the other party was a big shot from the core, and her cultivation was at the peak of the invincible realm. But now, the force that was suppressing her was a law. She hid her cultivation in the outer realm. Yuinga felt a sense of oppression that she had never felt before. Even Qin Wunyan felt the same. Is this your way of asking for help? Lin Yu spread his hands. You didn't mean to answer me. The girl's pretty face was slightly angry. Forget it. I'm not someone you could suppress now. Lin Yu took a step forward, not caring at all about the pressure of the law emanating from the girl. As expected, you're not a simple Grand Supreme realm. The girl on the Kunping retracted her pressure. Seeing Lin Yu approaching, she subconsciously took a step back. Her intuition told her that Lin Yu was not simple and was also very dangerous. You can have the lost song of the Guqin Emperor, but I can't give it to you for no reason, right? Chapter 308. Whatever conditions you want, the Zither Emperor sect can satisfy you. The girl riding the Kuan said with certainty. There are two conditions. First, the flower blooms on the other side is about to open. I want you to take me in the name of the Zither Emperor sect. Hearing this, the girl riding the Kuan's expression changed greatly. You even know about the flower blooms on the other side? Lin Yu smiled and did not answer. If it's an exchange for the Zither Emperor's music score, it would have been possible. The girl riding the Kuan's tone was a bit more sincere, but she still had her usual arrogance. She came from the core Emperor sect star field, so she naturally had a sense of superiority when facing the people from the inner and outer star fields. This feeling was even more obvious in the eyes of others, but in front of Lin Yu, the girl riding the Kuan still restrained herself. However, if you want to enter the flower blooms on the other side, you need to at least be in the core star field. The girl riding the Kuan spoke again. Lin Yu smiled. With your ability, it shouldn't be difficult to take me into the core, right? Impossible. The girl immediately refused. You need to enter with your own ability. Otherwise, you don't have the qualifications to make a deal with me. Lin Yu spread out his hands and looked at her helplessly. However, he had already guessed that the other party would say this from the beginning. Even if it was someone from the Emperor's sect, if they wanted to casually bring someone to the core, they would have to go through some troublesome procedures. The girl riding the Kuan was naturally willing to go through so much trouble for Lin Yu. So, if I get to the core, this deal can be done? Yes. The other party nodded with certainty. Lin Yu knew that the girl riding the Kuan was certain that he couldn't enter the core. Therefore, she agreed without even thinking about it. And what Lin Yu wanted was this effect. In that case, let's meet again in the core. After Lin Yu finished speaking, the girl riding the Kuan stared at him in surprise. You seem to be very confident. Do you know, other than the people from the Emperor's sect who can freely enter the core and inner regions, what are the conditions for anyone from the inner regions to enter the Emperor's sect? The Realm Guardian's Blade. Lin Yu said indifferently. The girl frowned. Since you know, you should also understand that the Realm Guardian has been guarding the core for so many years. His strength is not that simple. I'm confident. Lin Yu smiled confidently, his tone full of certainty. This scene fell into the eyes of the girl riding on the koan. She could not help but look at Lin Yu a few more times. I hope your strength is as strong as your confidence. When she was about to leave, Lin Yu suddenly called out to her. Can I ask you something? Speak. Lin Yu chuckled. Lin Xiao, your Heavenly Emperor Xiao, are you ranked second on the blacklist now? As soon as he said this, the faces of the low-key sect members behind him turned solemn. The last time Heaven Monarch Xiao made a move was in the inner district. As for them, they couldn't even block a single finger from Celestial Lord Xiao. If not for Lin Yu escaping with the Lonely Universe staff, they would have already died behind the World Crossing Gate. The current Celestial Emperor Xiao was the nightmare of the low-key sect. Celestial Emperor Xiao has stepped from the Grand Supreme Realm to the third heaven in a short period of time. The girl riding on the koan spoke slowly with a bit of reverence in her tone. It was obvious that the current Celestial Emperor Xiao had reached a realm that she could look up to. But why? The girl riding on the koan stared at Lin Yu. You guessed that he is not ranked first on the blacklist, but second. Because he can't surpass the first on the blacklist. Lin Yu smiled knowingly. The girl riding on the koan did not directly answer his question, but she had already tacitly agreed. That's true. The girl riding on the koan nodded and smiled, but in her heart, she forcibly suppressed the shock of Lin Yu. Why did this person come from the outer district, but he knew so much about the core Emperor's Gate? I also have a question. The girl riding on the koan wanted to turn around and leave, but she couldn't hold back her curiosity. Why do you look so similar to Celestial Emperor Xiao? She naturally saw Celestial Emperor Xiao's appearance when she was on the blacklist. You will know in the future. Lin Yu didn't want to explain too much. Celestial Emperor Xiao was now stronger than him, and he represented one of the Emperor's gates. Naturally, he wouldn't say that Celestial Emperor Xiao was his pirated version. If he said that, it would go against the motto of the low-key sect. Okay, then I will listen to you when you want to say it. The girl riding on the koan smiled. It was a rare smile for her, because Lin Yu had piqued her interest. If you can enter the core, where will I wait for you? The flower-blooming shore sky. Do you know where the flower-blooming shore sky is? Lin Yu nodded. The girl riding on the koan was shocked, but seeing that Lin Yu didn't want to continue, she had to leave on the koan. After she left, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Qin Ji came up and bowed. Sect Master is going to core? The matter here has been resolved. I guess there will be no match for Sect Master in the inner district in the future, Yang Kai said. Even though his sword Dao was invincible in the Grand Supreme Realm, he still felt an inexplicable pressure when facing Lin Yu. This pressure told him that if they were to fight, he wouldn't be Lin Yu's opponent. Left Emissary Yang, I don't want to bring too many people with me to the core. Lin Yu said lightly. Yang Kai understood something. Sect Master, please instruct me. I will only bring you with me. At the same time, I will find an opportunity to settle the grudge between you and the Sword Emperor Gate. Sect Master, Yang Kai wanted to interrupt Lin Yu, but the latter seemed to have made up his mind. He said forcefully, if some things are not resolved, even if you pretend to escape, how long can you escape? Lin Yu looked around as he spoke. From the outer district to the inner district, then to the core, the path of the low-key sect will not stop. Sooner or later, you'll have to face the Sword Emperor Gate. Lin Yu said again. Everyone was puzzled by his words. Only Yang Qing and Qin Ji knew some things. But at this moment, they didn't dare to answer because the atmosphere suddenly became heavy. Sect Master is right. After a long time, Yang Kai took a deep breath and said slowly, I will follow Sect Master's arrangements. Although Lin Yu was younger than him, Yang Kai agreed to help establish the low-key sect because of Yang Qing's face. But now, step by step, Lin Yu's personal charm and ability had convinced Yang Kai. Lin Yu also guessed this and decided to speak for Yang Kai. For this trip, let Left Emissary Yang come with me to the core. Lin Yu smiled faintly, obviously satisfied with Yang Kai's agreement. Qin Ji, Qin Wunyan, the low-key sect will temporarily stay in the Bodhi sect. From now on, it will be renamed the Low-Key Sect. As Lin Yu spoke, the world-extinguishing rod appeared in his hand. Take this. Release the Low-Key Sect from the space and merge it with the Bodhi Sect. Let all the disciples out for some fresh air. After Lin Yu finished speaking, Qin Ji, Qin Wunyan, and the other elders of the Low-Key Sect cupped their fists in response. Chapter 309. After they left, Yang Kai waited by Lin Yu's side. I'm not going to the core yet. You can take this time to meet up with Yang Qing. Lin Yu's words warmed Yang Kai's heart. Yes, with Yang Kai's departure, only Lin Yu was left, along with the devastated 8 mansions below. Lin Yu landed and appeared behind Xian Tianzong. Xian Tianzong immediately came up and bowed slightly. It's all thanks to Master Lin. Xian Tianzong subconsciously sized up Lin Yu's aura and found that although the other party only displayed the power of the Grand Supreme Realm, but for some reason, it gave Xian Tianzong a sense of oppression. It was as if Lin Yu's Grand Supreme Realm aura was purer and more powerful than his power of laws. That's all for now. There's one thing I want to discuss with the sect master of the Profound Heaven sect. Lin Yu's words came. Xian Tianzong did not hesitate. Master, if you have something to say, this old man will cooperate fully. The territory of the Bodhi sect belongs to me. Lin Yu did not beat around the bush. Sure. Xian Tianzong swallowed his saliva and agreed without hesitation. There's one more thing. Lin Yu looked into the distance, in the direction of the Imperial Gate's World Crossing Gate. You can kill the people of the Floating Life Demon sect, but keep the territory. How can we do that? The Floating Life Demon sect is the culprit of this war. Now that we've won, why can't we take over the Floating Life Demon sect? The one who spoke was not Xian Tianzong, but the artifact refining elder behind him. Lin Yu's first condition was already a little unacceptable to them. The Great Profound sect was giving the Bodhi sect to Lin Yu. But since Xian Tianzong agreed, they could not say anything. However, if they could not touch the Floating Life Demon sect, then wouldn't the Profound sect suffer a great loss this time? Master, there must be a deeper meaning to your words. Xian Tianzong raised his hand and stopped the artifact refining elder from speaking. Instead, he asked Lin Yu himself. Profound meaning. This is for your own good. Only Lin Yu knew that the Azura Emperor sect was behind the Floating Life Demonic sect. If the Celestial sect tried to snatch the territory now, they would incur the wrath of the Azura Emperor sect. How could a quasi-emperor sect that was already riddled with holes bear the wrath of an emperor-level sect? Master, we appreciate your kind intentions, but even if our celestial sect of Wonder's disciples are weak, we are not afraid of the remnants of the Bliss demonic sect. That's right. Since Grandmaster has the Bodhi sect, it makes sense for us to devour the Bliss demonic sect. The 2 crafting elders said one after another. Lin Yu smiled. Seeing that Xian Tianzong did not say anything, it was obvious that he agreed with what the 2 of them had said. In that case, there was no one else that he could say anything to. He was not a good person to begin with, and he would not be such a good person. Just as he was about to leave, Mu Qingqing called out to him. Young master, are you leaving? Mu Qingqing looked at Lin Yu's footsteps and saw that he was already walking out of the celestial sect. Observing his expression, Lin Yu was still as calm as water. Naturally, Mu Qingqing couldn't tell anything from his expression. However, the anger in the crafting elders and Xian Tianzong's eyes was clearly seen by Mu Qingqing. That's right. Lin Yu nodded. Mu Qingqing was a good material for crafting and mechas. Therefore, Lin Yu could not help but look at her a few more times. Can I go with you? Mu Qingqing suddenly said. At the thought of Lin Yu leaving, this 12-year-old girl's heart was racing, and she was extremely anxious. Qingqing, what nonsense are you talking about? One of the crafting elders immediately said angrily, Mu Zhan is dead, so you are the next Mu residence master. You should stay in the celestial sect of Wonders and inherit your father's mantle. That's right, Qingqing. You have to be loyal to the celestial sect of Wonders and not be a traitor. Another crafting elder also warned her. Xian Tianzong narrowed his eyes. This time, Mu Qingqing's action of piloting a mecha to guard the area naturally revealed this little girl's talent. The Celestial Sect of Wonders should not let such a person go. Sure. However, Lin Yu's voice was heard. Mu Qingqing was grinning from ear to ear. She displayed her naivety in front of Lin Yu and grabbed Lin Yu's arm. "Young master, is that true?" The crafting elder's words seemed to have been filtered out by Mu Qingqing like air. "Yes." Lin Yu nodded with a smile and looked at Xian Tianzong, leader of the Celestial Sect of Wonders. "Qingqing has made up her mind to leave. I hope you can make it easy for me." "Leader, you can't." "That's right. Qingqing is more useful than Mu Zhan. You must have seen this too." Xian Tianzong took a deep breath and took a step forward. "Master, do you really want to take Qingqing in?" "Yes." Lin Yu nodded. His tone was firm. After hearing this, Xian Tianzong hesitated for a long time, causing the atmosphere to stiffen. Mu Qingqing was so frightened that she could not help but hide behind Lin Yu. When she wanted to plead with Xian Tianzong again, she saw him nod helplessly. "Since it's Qingqing's idea, then I agree." As soon as Xian Tianzong said this, the two crafting elders' faces turned red with anger. "Leader, this can't be. That's enough." Xian Tianzong interrupted them. "This is Qingqing's decision. Let her go." As soon as he finished speaking, Lin Yu had already held Mu Qingqing's hand and stepped into the air. Behind them was Tang Xian. "Leader, why are you doing this?" Bodhi's sect has given Lin Yu, but with Mu Qingqing's talent, she is the future of the Celestial Sect of Wonders. Why should we give her to Lin Yu? Xian Tianzong closed his eyes, his gaze filled with helplessness. At this moment, Si Shaoxian appeared behind Xian Tianzong and said coldly, "If the two elders have any objections, you can fight with Master Lin and take Qingqing back." As soon as she said this, the two of them could feel Si Shaoxian's anger. The two of them were helpless. They could not even defeat Yin Daosheng and Lady Bodhi. How could they defeat Lin Yu? Without saying anything more, they went down to the mess below to help clean up. "Shaoxian, do you think father did the right thing?" "Yes." Si Shaoxian looked at Lin Yu, Tang Xian, and Mu Qingqing's backs as they left. "Master Lin is not our enemy, and he can't be our enemy." Xian Tianzong smiled. "Looks like I can give up my position. My daughter has better foresight than I do." Xian Tianzong was hinting at the fact that he did not reach an agreement with Lin Yu regarding the demon cult of floating life. This caused a rift between the two of them. "There are still many things that your daughter does not understand," Si Shaoxian hurriedly said. She did not want to be tied to the position of the leader of the Celestial Sect of Wonders. Thinking of this, Si Shaoxian could not help but envy Tang Xian and Mu Qingqing. In the distance, Lin Yu stepped into the starry sky and left the Celestial Sect of Wonders territory. Tang Xian and Mu Qingqing followed beside him. "Master, where are we going?" "Back to the low-key sect." "Oh, the Bodhi sect." Lin Yu's gaze fell on Tang Xian. "Give me your hand." Chapter 310. Tang Xian's heart tightened when he stopped. She reached out her hand and put it on Lin Yu's hand. She immediately felt a warm aura invading her body. Tang Xian couldn't help but tremble. This process lasted for a few minutes. When Tang Xian opened her eyes, Lin Yu had already taken his hand back. "Young master, I checked your mutant blood battle body." "Mutant blood battle body?" Tang Xian was confused. Lin Yu explained, "Generally speaking, there are 3,000 great paths, each of which has its own strengths. Glory Chi, Battle Body, and Divine Will are the top great paths. Its status and popularity are above the Sword Way, Array Way, Knife Way, Medicine Way, and other great paths." Seeing this, Mu Qingqing couldn't help but listen with Tang Xian. Glory Chi is cultivation. It can be divided into the All-Conquering, Grand Supreme, and Law Realm. Battle Body and Divine Will can also enter the Grand Supreme and Law Realm. Of course, everyone's talent is different. The Mutant Blood Battle Body is the talent of Battle Body cultivators. It's 1 in a million talent. "Young master, are you saying that I should cultivate Battle Body?" "That's right." Lin Yu nodded and smiled. Your mutant blood battle body hasn't awakened yet. You can only see its true power after it awakens. What I'm sure of is that its power after awakening will be no less than your current all-conquering realm cultivation. Hearing this, Tang Xian couldn't help but be overjoyed. Then I'll start cultivating battle body now. After we go back to the low-key sect, I'll ask Dongwang Fiyu to find you a few books on battle body cultivation. As for your previous cultivation, you can ignore it for the time being. Lin Yu wanted to lead Tang Xian to a more powerful path as much as possible. The three of them passed by the floating life demon sect. It was a vast continent filled with gray air and buildings. In Lin Yu's impression, the floating life demon sect was already an ugly sect in the past. But now, there were only those ordinary people who didn't know how to cultivate and could only offer their harvest to the headquarters of the demonic sect. If it weren't for Young Master, would the entire inner area become like the demonic sect? Is it because it's the floating life demon sect? Is that why it's so gloomy? Mu Qingqing and Tang Xian asked one after another. Lin Yu smiled helplessly. There are no absolutes between good and evil. Immortals and demons can be separated by a single thought. Many sects with green mountains and clear waters may have darkness within them no less than the demon cult of bliss. The two women were puzzled by what Lin Yu said. They didn't understand what he meant. Lin Yu did not waste any more time. He found a transportation array in space, and the three of them entered it. When they came out, they were already at the Bodhi sect. Yang Kai and the others actually came back first. Good. Let's go take a look at Ancestor Subhoodie's treasure pavilion. Lin Yu felt a little helpless as he stepped into the main hall of the Bodhi sect alone. Who are you? In front of them, there were a few Bodhi sect disciples left behind to stand guard. I don't want to kill more people. Step aside. Lin Yu slowly walked forward without stopping. The five guard were stunned. One of them immediately recognized Lin Yu. Yes, it was Lin Yu. Lin Yu, the one who killed the young master. Damn it, didn't the madam and the protectors go to deal with him? Why is Lin Yu here? Damn it, take him down. Asterisk Kong Long. Asterisk, but as Lin Yu approached, the five guards were all invincible realm cultivators. But at this moment, they felt an unprecedented pressure. As their minds rumbled, the blood in their bodies surged. Grand Elder. Lin Yu took another step forward. He didn't need to release his strength, but the 3 Yin Yang Grand Elder in his body was already operating on its own. Asterisk Pong. Asterisk the 5 invincible realm cultivators coughed up blood again. They didn't even have time to retreat before they collapsed. The Grand Elder doesn't have such a strong pressure. You're a principal. The only person who could still speak had already knelt down. Announced that from today onwards, I will be in charge of the Bodhi sect. Lin Yu walked straight away. Tang Xian and Mu Qingqing looked at the 5 seriously injured people on the ground in shock. They were so scared that they couldn't speak. If the 2 of them had barged in, they would have been taken down by the 5 guards. But Lin Yu simply walked in, and the 5 guards were already seriously injured. Not daring to think further, the 2 girls hurriedly followed Lin Yu. The 3 of them came to the most heavily guarded place in the Bodhi sect. But the guards here were the same as the ones outside. They couldn't even withstand Lin Yu's pressure and had already collapsed, losing their ability to fight. Wait for me here. The rest of the low-key sect should be here soon. Lin Yu instructed. With a wave of his hand, a wall of air immediately appeared in front of the 2 girls. This wall of air prevented others from approaching, and it just happened to protect Tang Xian and Mu Qingqing behind them. The 2 girls nodded obediently. Lin Yu stepped in and immediately smelled the fragrance of pills. This was a long and narrow arched passageway. On both sides of the passageway, there was a dazzling array of brocade boxes and treasure chests. He didn't even look at these things, because Lin Yu knew that these things would still belong to him in the end. After walking through this passageway, Lin Yu no longer had a way out. There was only one door left. The Bodhi sect is not a tree, nor is the mirror a platform. Lin Yu formed a seal with both hands and hit the center of the door with his palm. Originally, there was nothing where was dust. Words were law. The stone door creaked and then slowly opened. Lin Yu stepped in. This was the end of the passageway, the Bodhi sect's treasure vault. Building a sect with a combat physique. Unfortunately, the later generations have gradually forgotten the direction of their predecessors. Lin Yu smiled. Here, there were countless combat physique cultivation techniques, as well as elixirs to temper one's combat physique. He walked to the center of the treasure vault, where a corpse was. The corpse's head was lowered, as if it had been dead for some time. Lin Yu saluted with his fist to show respect to the deceased, then said indifferently, "You died at the hands of your wife, but when she died, what she regretted the most was the secret of your Bodhi sect's heart. The great Tao of karma circulates endlessly. Patriarch Bodhi, do you think the great Tao of karma can be my first law after stepping into the law realm?" The corpse didn't respond. After Lin Yu finished speaking, he waved his hand. His clothes fluttered without wind, and a tyrannical aura continued to rise. In the treasure vault, all the body-tempering elixirs flew out under Lin Yu's will. Black and white flames burned. Lin Yu sat cross-legged and controlled the elixirs to melt into the purest energy, fusing it into his body. I've mastered the first of the 8 great void groups. After I step into the Grand Supreme Realm, I can begin the second. Between his eyebrows, the aura of the first of the 8 great void groups, Dragon Tribe, continued to soar. The entire treasure vault was filled with terrifying dragon roars. The second, Yiksha. As soon as Lin Yu finished speaking, a mass of death aura suddenly appeared behind him. It was the aura of death. The moment the aura appeared, Lin Yu sensed that the vitality of his combat physique was constantly flowing away. Chapter 3:11. At the same time, the body-tempering power of the pills here was constantly replenishing Lin Yu's lost vitality. If it weren't for that, Lin Yu's constitution would have been exhausted already. Yiksha is the god of death. This move is like the god of death passing through. The deathly aura behind Lin Yu suddenly began to burn. It was a white flame, but it wasn't the color of the 9 Serenities' cold fire. Instead, it was a colder and more terrifying white of death. Lin Yu smiled. Suddenly, he noticed that Patriarch Bodhi's battle constitution, which had been dead for a long time, began to shake. If others were here, they would definitely be shocked, thinking that Patriarch Bodhi's corpse had come back to life. His divine consciousness is dead, and his cultivation has dissipated, but the battle constitution still has some instincts left. Lin Yu was a little helpless. He didn't want to obtain the power of the dead. At first, he only wanted to use the 1,000-year foundation of the Bodhi sect to help him cultivate the Great Void 8 Tribes Yiksha chapter. But now, Patriarch Bodhi's battle constitution seemed to be attracted by the power of the Bodhi heart. A sharp light slowly appeared in the white flame behind him. The light was emitting a dark gray aura. It was the aura of death. It was also the source of the Yiksha's power. The light became more and more visible. It was a saber blade. This saber blade was incomparably huge. It was at least 7 feet long. Lin Yu's battle constitution's vitality was constantly being absorbed by the blade. But just when Lin Yu wanted to control the power around him to make up for the lost vitality, he saw Patriarch Bodhi's corpse fly up and be directly pierced by the blade. Lin Yu was controlling the blade. He knew very well that he didn't let the blade stab Patriarch Bodhi again. The corpse crashed into it on its own. In the next moment, the corpse kept melting and rays of emerald green light entered the blade. It was the aura of the great Tao left on Patriarch Bodhi's battle constitution. At this moment, as the aura entered the blade, it became more and more obvious. Then, fluff appeared behind the blade. Under the fluff, there were 2 strips of black and white cloth. The fur, the tattered cloth, and the blade were all tied to a huge and slender wooden stick. Lin Yu gritted his teeth. Even with Patriarch Bodhi's battle constitution, he could still feel the terrifying absorption force from the wooden stick. Like a sponge, it continuously sucked away his blood and chi. Just a little bit more. Lin Yu's eyes flashed with decisiveness. Both of his hands struck out, and all the body-tempering pills in the treasure trove palace exploded. A terrifying pill energy whirlpool soared into the sky, turning into emerald green pills that continuously fused into Lin Yu's body. With a flash of light in his eyes, Lin Yu channeled all of his blood chi into the wooden staff. He had finally summoned the entire wooden staff. It was a sickle, the sickle of the grim Reaper Yiksha. Disclaimer: the 8 tribes of Taishu are set according to the plot. They may not be completely based on the description of the 8 tribes of Heavenly Dragon in the Buddhist scriptures. Outside the treasure vault, the people of the Bodhi sect continued to gather. They were not the same as the ordinary people left behind by the demon sect of bliss. They were the low-level combatants that Madame Bodhi had left behind in the Bodhi sect. Because of Lin Yu's arrival, these combatants were gradually gathered outside the treasure vault. There were close to 100 people. Lin Yu is inside. He killed our young master, and now he dares to swagger into our Bodhi sect's restricted area. I think he doesn't know that Madame has already gone to look for him. This Lin Yu is really courting death. That kid even knocked out many of our guards. But I think he's afraid of Madame, so he didn't kill them. Tang Xin and Mu Qingqing were shocked. Although these people's combat strength was not strong, and most of them were only in the transcendent realm. But there were too many people, and it made them nervous. Young Master said that we can't disturb him. Tang Xin swallowed her saliva and said nervously, "What a joke. This is our territory. Lin Yu doesn't even know that he's about to die. This girl can't be Tang X, right? Young Master is fighting with Lin Yu because of her. For Young Master's sake, take her down." Yes, if we take Tang Xin down, Madame will definitely reward us when she returns. Stop. Your Madame has already lost to our Master. This is now the Master's territory. Mu Qingqing gritted her teeth and said. Her young eyes were filled with determination. Even if there was this unconcealable fear, she didn't know where the courage came from, allowing her to say these words. Damn, this little girl is tired of living. Madame's cultivation is great, and she has the help of the demon sect of bliss. Lin Yu and the Xian sect can only die this time. Now, she's still bragging to me? Take her down first. The few people who took the lead immediately rushed up. Tang Xin and Mu Qingqing quickly took a few steps back subconsciously. But before they could defend themselves, they saw that the few people who took the lead had already crashed into the chi wall that Lin Yu had set up in the beginning. With a bang, the chi wall suddenly rebounded with a strong force. The few people who took the lead were all in the unconquerable realm. But at this moment, they all spat out a mouthful of blood and flew back several feet. An array? There's actually an array here. Damn it, it must be Lin Yu's doing. The few people's blood boiled. They stood up again and joined forces with the others to break the chi wall. Sister, this is obviously the Master's chi wall. Why do they call it an array? Mu Qingqing asked, puzzled. Short-sighted. Tang Xin was also a little angry, seeing that they were about to break the array again. But at this time, a crack suddenly appeared in the sky above the Bodhi sect. The sky seemed to have split open. Whistling air pressure continuously flowed out of the crack into the starry sky. What's that? Land, a piece of land? Everyone in the Bodhi sect raised their heads in shock. They could not help but look at the spectacle in the sky. Rumbling and cracking sounds continued to ring out. It was the sound of space breaking. It was also the sound of the pressure caused by the falling of the low-key sect's land. Enemy attack. It's an enemy attack. Someone took advantage of the absence of our Bodhi sect's army to invade us. The Bodhi sect fell into a panic in an instant. Under the low-key sect's land, the Annihilation Universe staff was his support point. At this moment, Yang Kai and the others looked down. The boundless Bodhi sect was now in their pocket. There's no need to do anything about those mortals, Qin Ji said slowly. Qin Wunyan, Yang Kai, and the others also nodded in agreement. The low-key sect is reasonable. Yao Gu smiled. Her smile was indescribably beautiful. But behind her, Nan Ruhong Yi's face was full of melancholy. This used to be her home. But now, she followed Lin Yu's army and invaded her home. Chapter 312. A snow-white wrist held her hand. Qin Ji had seen through Nanru Hongyi's thoughts. The Bodhi sect is riddled with holes because of Madame Bodhi. You should believe in the sect master. He can bring a better future to this place. Qin Ji's gentle voice came. Among the elders of the low-key sect, Nanru Hong, he was the closest to Qin Ji because the latter always took care of her. Nanru Hong, who didn't know that Lin Yu had ordered Qin Ji to do so. I believe in the sect master. Thank you, Elder Qin. Nanru Hong, he nodded and smiled. Her complexion improved a little. As the land approached the Bodhi sect, the Annihilation Universe staff stopped. Nanru Hong, he walked out and told the hundreds of thousands of Bodhi sect mortals below. This was what she felt she should do. Nanru Hong Yi's identity was much gentler than Qin Ji's to the Bodhi sect. Everyone understands now. When Nanru Hong Yi returned, her eyes were filled with joy. It seems that the mortals of the Bodhi sect are more reasonable than martial cultivators. Lu Wuhan smiled teasingly. If Madame Bodhi and Zhang Lingyi had been reasonable from the beginning, they might not have ended up like this. Nanru Hongyi smiled. Actually, mortals just want to live and work in peace. As long as they don't harm mortals, they don't care who rules here. She emphasized again, besides, I told them about the benefits of the sect master. Naturally, everyone is willing. Qin Ji and the left and right envoys smiled in satisfaction. But soon, they saw many people gathered in the Bodhi sect's main hall. That's the treasure pavilion. Nanru Hong, he immediately recognized it. The next moment, they saw Tang Xian and Mu Qingqing in front of the treasure pavilion. In front of the two women, hundreds of people were charging at the Qi wall in front of them. That aura, it can't be wrong. It's the sect master's Qi wall. Qin Munyan and Yang Kai spoke one after another. Before they finished speaking, they had teleported outside the treasure pavilion. Enemy, Grand Realm, two Grand Realm cultivators. Only the protectors can deal with them. The people outside the treasure pavilion noticed Yang Kai and Qin Wunyan's arrival and stopped in fear. Left emissary Yang, right emissary Qin. Tang Xian smiled and called out immediately. Oh no, these two are Lin Yu's men? Without the protectors, we won't be able to deal with the Grand Supreme. Yang Kai and Qin Wunyan exchanged a glance before the former asked Tang Xian, has Sect Master arrived before us? The two girls nodded in unison. Qin Wunyan smiled and looked down at the crowd below. All right then, go ahead. If you can't break our Sect Master's Qi wall, don't blame me for being impolite. Qin Wunyan's eyes flashed with killing intent. Behind them, Qin Ji and the others did not interfere when they saw the two of them. They continued to occupy the various cities of the Bodhisattva sect. What if we break it? When that group of people heard Qin Wunyan's words, they swallowed their saliva and looked extremely nervous. Qin Wunyan didn't speak, but Yang Kai spoke first. If you break through our sect master's barrier, don't blame me for being impolite. He raised his right hand, and a terrifying Qi sword rose from the ground, ready to chop down at any moment. This person seems to be even more terrifying than a Grand Supreme. You're being unreasonable. Whether we break it or not, we're all going to die. Many people knelt down in fright when they saw Yang Kai's Qi sword. Madame Bodhisattva is already dead, yet you still dare to disturb our sect master? Qin Wunyan stepped out, and his Grand Supreme aura erupted, causing the group of people to cough up blood. But at that moment, an aura suddenly shot up from the treasure pavilion. This aura was like a scythe directly cutting through the sky. What's that? It doesn't look like Sect Master's secret art. Could there be a trap inside? Damn it. Qin Wunyan and Yang Kai disappeared at the same time, and when they reappeared, they were already above the scythe. The broken buildings below were like ruins, and they couldn't see anything. As the dust scattered, Lin Yu felt Yang Kai's aura and smiled faintly, suddenly becoming interested. He raised his right hand and slashed towards Yang Kai's location. The Yiksha scythe once again appeared in front of Yang Kai and Qin Wunyan. Its speed was so fast that it was even faster than the sword Qi and saber seal. Dodge! Yang Kai pulled Qin Wunyan away with one hand and slashed his sword chi directly at the scythe. The moment the two swords collided, Yong-kai felt his chi and blood tumble, and his feet constantly retreated in the air, creating two shock waves. He immediately used his left hand, combining his two swords to stop the scythe's attack. Immediately, the scythe dissipated in the air. Did he withdraw? Coup. But Yong-kai and Qin Wenyan were still a little shaken. Fortunately, I withdrew quickly. Lin Yu casually withdrew his hand, his expression relaxed. Obviously, he hadn't used his full strength just now. But if he hadn't withdrawn, this scythe would have directly cut Yong-kai's body. He stepped out, and just as Yong-kai and Qin Wenyan were on high alert, Lin Yu appeared from the ruins unhurriedly. Sect Master. Left Emissary Yang, are you all right? Lin Yu smiled shyly. Just now, he had wanted to test the power of his Yiksha scythe and had accidentally used Yong-kai as a test stone. In the entire low-profile sect, only he was qualified to be Lin Yu's test stone. Sect Master, that scythe, just now? Yong-kai asked curiously. He had never seen such a strange secret art, especially the Yiksha aura on it. It was like a death god that reaped one's life, forcing him to use the full strength of his hands at the moment. If he had been any slower, Yong-kai estimated that his right hand would have been cut off. It's mine. Lin Yu knew that he couldn't hide it from the other party. Sect Master. That thing is so powerful, it seems to be above the sword chi and saber seal. Yong-kai couldn't help but start discussing the sword Dao. That thing doesn't belong to this world. After Lin Yu finished speaking, he suddenly realized that he had spilled the beans. We'll talk about this later. Help me arrange a few things. Seeing Lin Yu stop talking, Yong-kai had no choice but to give up. The two stepped forward, listened to Lin Yu say a few words, and then left. Qin Ji and the others quickly prepared the sect master's hall for Lin Yu. At this time, Nan Ruhong arrived at Lin Yu's summons. Only she and Lin Yu were in the hall. Nan Ruhong first bowed respectfully to Lin Yu to show her respect for this supreme existence in the Bodhi sect, the low-profile sect, and even the entire inner territory. What's the situation in the Bodhi sect? Lin Yu asked. Nan Ruhong was taken aback. Lin Yu should have asked Qin Ji such a question. But why was he asking her now? After thinking for a while, Nan Ruhong immediately understood. This was also Lin Yu's respect for her. After all, this was her home. The Bodhi sect has accepted the news of Madame Bodhi's death and has been re-registered as members of the low-profile sect according to Elder Qin Ji's arrangements. Continue. Chapter 313. Lin Yu lowered his head, listening as he read through the piles of memorials. His gaze was calm, but red-dressed Nanru, who was peeking at him, could feel the majestic aura of an emperor. Yes, red dress, Nanru nodded nervously. And those guards, because they offended the sect master in the beginning, a few have been killed. The rest are repenting and left Emissary Yang's evil punishment palace. Also, the mortals are very grateful that the sect master didn't slaughter them and even reduce the taxes. Lin Yu nodded, his expression unchanged. What about you? Are you used to it? Red dress, Nanru's heart tightened. The moment Lin Yu's gaze fell on her, she suddenly had an illusion. Father, red dress, Nanru blurted out. The next moment, she immediately knelt down. Sect master, please forgive me. This subordinate mistook you for my father. Hearing this, Lin Yu put down the memorials in his hand. This is why I asked you to come see me. Lin Yu respected the dead and told Red Dress Nanru how Patriarch Bodhi's battle body fused with him on its own. I see. I thought I was hallucinating. Red Dress Nanru felt much closer to Lin Yu. Even though Lin Yu had absorbed Patriarch Bodhi's battle body, after Lin Yu told her the truth, Red Dress Nanru could feel Lin Yu's sincerity. This was no longer something that Lin Yu and Red Dress Nanru could control. She knew that to a certain extent, this was Patriarch Bodhi's own choice. All right, if there's nothing else, you may leave. Lin Yu asked Red Dress Nanru to leave. Facing the mountain of memorials, he couldn't help but stretch. Summon Qiu Lingshan. With interest, Lin Yu summoned the little beauty Qiu Lingshan. After Qiu Lingshan arrived, she didn't need Lin Yu to say anything. She came up on her own and knelt in front of Lin Yu. Looking at the obedient beauty, Lin Yu smiled faintly and continued to read the pile of memorials. 6 hours later, Qiu Lingshan left with a flushed face. Xianggu and the others had just arrived outside the palace. Lingshan, what's wrong? No cough. He swallowed the food in his mouth as soon as he opened his mouth. I'm fine. Qiu Lingshan lowered her head and left, extremely bashful. This girl, did she do something bad to the sect master? Lost in thought, she stepped into the temple and bowed slightly to Lin Yu. Greetings, sect master. Yao Gu said respectfully. The eggs in the heavenly lake are moving. Lin Yu, who had just finished being happy, was still feeling bored. When he heard this, he immediately disappeared. Xianggu felt a gust of wind blow past her, and her hair fluttered. In the next moment, Lin Yu was no longer in the sect leader's hall. This scene made Xianggu gulp. They were both at the Grand Supreme stage, but she was extremely shocked at the moment. I can't even see the sect master's movements clearly. She suddenly felt that the gap between her and Lin Yu was getting wider and wider. Don't blame yourself. Behind her, Dongwang Feiyu's voice came. The sect master's strength is naturally the strongest. His great Tao can't be simply distinguished by the Grand Supreme stage. Xianggu turned around and saw Qingji behind Dongwang Feiyu. The two of them were also shocked by Lin Yu's movements, but they could only suppress this shock. Only by working hard can we not be left too far behind by the sect master. Qingji comforted Xianggu, but in fact, she was also comforting herself. At this moment, on the heavenly lake of the low-key clan, Lin Yu appeared and looked down. As expected, the 9-color egg was shaking. This 9-color egg was even bigger than the first time Lin Yu saw it. At this time, it was so big that the fog of the heavenly lake could hardly cover it. Little Monkey and the demon python paced in front of the 9-color egg with worried eyes. Lin Yu smiled faintly. When he arrived, Little Monkey and the demon python immediately went forward to greet him as if they had seen their savior. Don't worry, Lin Yu said and appeared outside the 9-color egg. He pressed his palm on the egg and closed his eyes to check inside. In his divine thoughts, Lin Yu saw an illusory scene, as if the inside of the 9-color egg had blocked most of his divine thoughts. After a long time, Lin Yu withdrew his divine thoughts. It turns out that you're hungry. Everything was normal inside the 9-color egg, but the power of the glory bot had disappeared. Lin Yu sent out a voice transmission and ordered someone to bring 200 billion glory bot. In the past, the entire low-key clan's assets were probably only 200 billion. But now, after the battle with the Xian sect, the low-key clan had become the biggest winner. Now, 200 billion was nothing to Lin Yu. 3 days later, Lin Yu refined all the glory bot and injected them into the 9-color egg. The original vibration had already disappeared. The entire 9-color egg seemed to have fallen into a deep sleep. Sect Master, the thing inside has already swallowed 300 billion glory bot before it was born. Its appetite is too big. Qin Ji and the others also came. After seeing that 200 billion glory bot had been refined by Lin Yu, plus the first 100 billion glory bot, the cost of cultivating the 9-color egg had exceeded their knowledge. The more powerful the demonic beast, the more it needs before it is born. Lin Yu didn't care about the glory bot at all. Of course, if it was given to others, even if it was only 1,000 glory bot, he would be distressed. But it was different now. He was investing. He had a feeling that something incredible would appear in the 9-color egg. After leaving the heavenly lake, Lin Yu returned to the sect master's hall. Dongwang Feiyu and the others came to see him again. Sect master, Tang Xian's mutant blood battle body is about to break through. After hearing this, Lin Yu smiled and disappeared again. Dongwang Feiyu was used to this. Outside the skills hall, Lin Yu was recognized by the disciples as soon as he appeared. Greetings, sect master. Lin Yu went straight in. The disciples were so scared that they didn't dare to move or get up. This was the place where all the skills of the low-key clan were gathered. It was also Dongwang Feiyu's Elder's Hall. At this moment, Lin Yu spread out his divine mind to the Grand Supreme Realm and immediately locked on to a direction. When he reappeared, he was in a relatively hidden hall. Obviously, Dongwang Feiyu had deliberately arranged this place so that Tang Xian could have a very safe place to cultivate her battle body. Boom! A vibration came from the hall. Lin Yu squinted and stepped into the hall. He saw Tang Xian sitting cross-legged in meditation, and inside her body, rays of blood qi shot up to the sky. However, Lin Yu also saw dozens of chains on the outer layer of the blood qi light that bound Tang Xian like shackles. The chains kept twisting as if they were trying to suppress the blood qi. Give up your past cultivation. What you have is useless now. Lin Yu's voice came. Tang Xian, who was still struggling with her eyes closed, suddenly understood. She gritted her teeth, and countless rays of Yao qi burst out of her body. At this moment, the chains that shackled her blood qi broke at the same time. A terrifying impact force erupted and surged towards Lin Yu like a tidal wave. Well, let me see what you really look like. Chapter 314. The corner of Lin Yu's lips curled up. He raised his right hand and punched forward. This force was not meant to kill. Instead, it carried the vibrations of Lin Yu's Taishang spiritual suppression. It directly swept away the surface of the blood. In the next second, under the blood, a snow-white light gradually appeared. Lin Yu retracted his fist. The light grew brighter. The entire Great Hall, as well as the even more spacious Skills Method Hall and Elder's Hall outside, were also dyed with a layer of snow-like color at this moment. The light was so blinding that Lin Yu almost couldn't keep his eyes open. However, in the next second, he saw a glowing and pure body pounce on him. "Thank you, Supreme Headmaster." Tang Xian's sweet voice traveled to Lin Yu's ears. Lin Yu smiled and wrapped his arms around her waist. Tang Xian's body trembled. "I want you." The voice came again. Tang Xian buried her face in Lin Yu's shoulder. She couldn't believe that she would say that to Lin Yu. Now is not the time. Lin Yu softly smiled. If it weren't for his strong willpower, he would have held this perfect body in his arms and done something naughty. Patting Tang Xian's back, Lin Yu smiled. "Do you know what kind of body you have awakened?" Tang Xian nodded. "The immaculate body. I am immune to all poisons. My body can also detoxify and heal injuries." Not bad. Lin Yu knew that after Tang Xian awakened her body, the perception of this body would automatically merge with her spiritual will. Lin Yu softly smiled. He patted her Huiyang meridian again. "So, you must maintain your purity. In the future, your cultivation will be much more powerful." Pain came. Tang Xian yelped. Her beautiful eyes were filled with disappointment. Seeing this, Lin Yu knew that he had crossed the line. Tang Xian was so excited about the awakening of her body. He really should have satisfied her. Lin Yu tried to comfort her. "If you can't use the bottom, you can use the top." While Tang Xian was still confused, Lin Yu had already pressed her head down. "Master, what do you think is going on inside?" Outside the palace, Yao Gu asked worriedly. The snow-white color here had slowly faded in the past 6 hours. She and Dongwang Feiyu were attracted by the strange phenomenon of white snow, and they had been waiting for almost 6 hours. Knowing that Lin Yu was personally helping Tang Xian, they didn't dare to disturb him. Mutated blood battle constitutions are 1 in a million. It's lucky to find one among hundreds of thousands of people. Dongwang Feiyu said in a deep voice, "Mutated blood is just a general term. No one knows what the real awakened body will be like. Let's wait for our master to come out." Rumble nodded, but as soon as she finished speaking, the door to the hall opened. Lin Yu walked out and felt that the unsullied battle body was more comfortable doing that kind of thing. He didn't know what to say, but Dongwang Feiyu and Yao Gu had already come to greet him. "Master, inside." "It's okay. Let her rest for a while. The mutated blood battle body has been awakened." Hearing that, Dongwang Feiyu and Yao Gu breathed a sigh of relief. "What kind of body has Miss Tang Xian awakened?" Dongwang Feiyu asked curiously. Let her tell you when she wakes up. Lin Yu ordered again. Summon the left and right messengers and the elders to the master's palace to discuss the departure to the core. Hearing that, the two girls immediately became serious. The core star area was a place that everyone yearned for. Perhaps some people of the low-key sect came from the Hongming continent and didn't want to go to the core star area. But the low-key sect they were in now was already a top force in the inner area. This raised their goal by quite a bit. The core star area was the biggest goal of everyone in this star area. In the master's palace, Lin Yu sat on the throne. Below him, the left and right messengers and the elders had already gathered after hearing Lin Yu's order. Master, are we really only taking left messenger Yang and Miss Mei this time? Qin Ji asked with a worried look. After all, the low-key sect wasn't weak now and had many Grand Supreme Realm Masters. But if Lin Yu only took Yang Kai and Mei, they would still be worried. Not only Qin Ji, but the other elders were also puzzled. The core might be unfamiliar to you, but to me, it's just a step forward from under my feet. Lin Yu spoke slowly from the seat of honor, with the majesty of an emperor. I already know the first step, so you don't have to worry. Everyone looked at each other, their hearts filled with shock and horror. Has Master been to the core star area? Isn't that only emperor-grade sects can enter? Lin Yu nodded with a smile. I had some opportunities, so I went there. I'm very familiar with the Emperor's sect's core star area. Then, we can rest assured. Qin Ji and the others breathed a sigh of relief. Left Messenger Yang, get ready. We can set off tomorrow. Oh, by the way, inform Mei. Lin Yu's voice came. Yang Kai was taken aback. So soon. There's not much time left for the flower-blooming shore sky to open. Before we go, we still have some preparations to do. Sect Master, what is the flower-blooming shore sky? Qin Ji asked. Without answering directly, Lin Yu looked at Lin Yu. The latter immediately understood and explained for Lin Yu. It's a sealed world of the Zither Emperor's sect. Legend has it that it only opens once every 10 years. Inside, Yang Kai paused. It said that there's a heavenly lake inside that can reflect one's heart. As for the specifics, I'm not very clear. Everyone was confused and couldn't help but look at Lin Yu. The latter smiled. The flower-blooming shore sky has the opportunity to comprehend the principal Tao. As soon as his voice fell, not only Qin Wu Yin and the others, but even Yang Kai was taken aback. Even if he came from the Sword Emperor's sect, he didn't know the specifics of the Zither Emperor's sect's sealed world. Lin Yu naturally knew this secret when he was trapped. However, he only knew about it. At that time, he was only in the mortal realm and couldn't perceive the power of the flower-blooming shore sky's principles. But it was different now. Elder Qin, right emissary Qin, while left emissary Yang and I are not in low-key sect, I need you to do something. The two came forward. After listening to Lin Yu's instructions, they immediately looked puzzled. Self-protection? Sect Master, could it be that there are still people in the inner territory who want to harm our low-key sect? Yes, the disaster of the floating life demon cult has been resolved. The only ones left in the inner territory are the Profound sect and the Bodhi sect. The current members of the Bodhi sect are just ordinary people with no fighting strength. Lin Yu shrugged. It's not a force from the inner territory. It's just a precaution. Could it be the core? Qin Wu Yin asked worriedly. Lin Yu had no choice but to nod. Since you've asked, I have no choice but to tell you. Behind the floating life demon cult is the Azura Emperor sect. It's hard to say if they will interfere in the inner district battle for the floating life demon cult. Chapter 315. An undetectable glint flashed in the depths of his eyes. Lin Yu was naturally not only worried about the Shura Imperial sect's invasion. It was an extremely complicated matter if the Imperial sect wanted to attack the inner region. It also involved the checks and balances between the different Imperial sects. Otherwise, the inner region would not have survived for so many years. Lin Yu was also worried about the Xin sect. The low-key sect had developed too quickly. An innocent man would get into trouble because of his wealth. They could attract the jealousy of other large sects at any time and be destroyed. However, he did not say it out loud. Standing up, Lin Yu announced, "In short, it's always good to be safe. The core of the Imperial sect is dangerous, but you have to be on guard at all times here." With that, Lin Yu dismissed the others. Everyone had doubts in their hearts. Gradually, they realized that their current forces were much more powerful than before. However, the higher they were, the greater the danger they faced. If they made any wrong decisions, what awaited them would still be a disaster. Late at night, Lin Yu reviewed all the memorials and gave a few orders. The first order was to deploy the low-key sect's defensive array. After Mu Qingqing followed him here, she had already sped up the forging of the mecha under Lin Yu's orders. Lin Yu had given her enough resources. It was only a matter of time before a new mecha appeared. Moreover, its combat power would not be inferior to the Xin sect's mecha. On the other hand, Lin Yu had also decided on the new lineup of the Four Swords 5 Ultimate God-Killing Array. However, like the mecha, it would take some time to get used to it. The second order was for the 9-colored egg that the little monkey and the demon emperor python had laid. Lin Yu had arranged for a monthly intake of 100 billion glory bot. At this rate, the low-key sect would probably spend the low-key sect's resources in a year. However, Lin Yu judged that the 9-colored egg had been born for a long time. For the third order, Lin Yu left behind the Nirvana Universe staff and set up a divine will on it. This divine will could bring the people of the low-key sect to the core through the teleportation array hidden in the starry sky at a critical moment. It could be considered a life-saving trump card that Lin Yu had given to the low-key sect. After doing this, Lin Yu rubbed the space between his eyebrows. If only there was a beauty here to massage my shoulders. He lay on the dragon throne and deliberately raised his voice. Upon hearing the voice echoing through the hall, a beautiful figure who had been secretly watching from outside the hall crept up behind Lin Yu. Her snow-white but slightly cold wrist wrapped around Lin Yu's shoulder. Seeing that Lin Yu didn't respond, Qin Yi could only obediently massage Lin Yu's shoulders. After a few cups of tea, Lin Yu slowly opened his mouth. "Have you ever thought of doing something else?" Hearing this, Qin Yi's beautiful face broke into a smile. She walked lightly to Lin Yu and sat down with her long legs bent. "You're leaving again." Her voice was like a silver bell, accompanied by the fragrance of a young girl. "That's right. That's the end of this starry sky." "This starry sky?" Qin Yi frowned curiously. "Is there another starry sky in the world?" In her knowledge, the Four Directions starfield belonged to the edge of the Emperor's starfield, and the Emperor's starfield was the true core of the entire universe. Qin Yi didn't understand Lin Yu's words. The latter smiled. "You can't see another starry sky now because someone doesn't want you to see it. Is the starry sky outside beautiful?" Qin Yi looked longingly at Lin Yu, her beautiful eyes filled with longing. Lin Yu moved his body, making Qin Yi almost unable to bear it. "Beautiful. At least it's more beautiful than this starry sky." But he saw Qin Yi shake her head, and the fragrance of her hair wafted over. "I don't believe it. Even if it's beautiful, it's not as beautiful as your eyes." She moved closer. Lin Yu went up to her. After a long time, Qin Yi broke free with a red face. "The person who doesn't want us to see the starry sky outside must be a bad person." "Why?" Lin Yu asked with a smile. "Because the person you want to deal with must be a bad person," Qin Yi said firmly. "How do you know I want to deal with that person?" Lin Yu smiled faintly, and his body moved for a while. "Because press." "Wait, let me finish." Qin Yi continued. "Although I can't cultivate, I can feel from my mother and the elders that you've been getting closer to the core of the starry sky." She looked down at Lin Yu's eyes, her hand holding his thin chin. "That's your dream. I'll support you no matter what decision you make. But you have to be careful. There's still people waiting for you here." This sentence seemed to have touched Lin Yu's heart that hadn't wavered for a long time. "Waiting for me?" "Yes." Qin Yi nodded obediently. "Everyone in low-key sect is waiting for you to come back. I know it's very dangerous there, at least much more dangerous than the inner area. That's why you didn't take us there." He couldn't help but pinch Qin Yi's nose. A woman's intuition is really accurate. 6 hours later, Qin Yi couldn't walk anymore. so she had to sleep in the sect master's hall. Lin Yu left some kind of power in her body. This power contained Lin Yu's Tao of the third origin grant stage. It was like a seed. Perhaps in the near future, it would allow Qin Yi to break through the Sanus's body and cultivate like others. Of course, Qin Yi didn't know this now. The sky gradually brightened. Lin Yu, the left and right messengers, as well as the elders of Loki's sect, had gathered on a warship. Everything's ready. Qinji bowed and said, "Let's go. It's good that you want to take a look." The Imperial Gate's realm crossing gate is still somewhat different from the outer areas. Lin Yu smiled. Loki sect's warship had already passed through the Imperial Gate's realm crossing gate. At this moment, in the Xin sect, Black Sky sect, and Si Shaoxian were in the sect master's hall at the same time. Mystic Master, Old Sect Master, Lin Yu, and the people of Loki's sect have already gone to the Imperial Gate. An elder of crafting reported below. That kid is too ambitious. The inner area can't keep him. Black Sky sect's majestic voice sounded. He glanced at Si Shaoxian beside him. He immediately saw that Si Shaoxian had a lot on her mind and sighed helplessly. However, at this moment, another elder of crafting sect cupped his fists and said, "Sect Master, this old man heard that Lin Yu didn't bring everyone from Loki's sect this time. The remaining people are not strong. Elder, be careful with your words." Si Shaoxian's eyes were slightly angry. However, that elder of crafting sect was already somewhat dissatisfied with Si Shaoxian's overly emotional attitude toward Lin Yu. He pretended not to hear the meaning in Si Shaoxian's eyes and continued, "The Imperial Gate is full of danger. It's not something we can imagine. Even if Lin Yu's combat strength is astonishing, once he reaches the core, he might suffer a mishap. At that time, Old Sect Master, can we consider taking everything from Loki's sect?" If it were a few years ago, there might not be anything wrong with these words. However, Si Shaoxian was furious now. She stood up from her high seat and said, "You're shameless." Chapter 316. The blacksmith elder's face darkened. He had been in the Xian sect for many years. How could he allow a brat to scold him like this? "Miss, you've never cared about the Xian sect since you were young. Of course, you don't know how rare this opportunity is for us. Although Lin Yu has a close relationship with you, I hope you can consider the big picture. If we allow the Loki sect to continue developing, I'm afraid they'll surpass us in the future." The other elders couldn't help but say when they saw this, "That's right. With Lin Yu's ability, it would be best if he was just a member of the Elder Hall of the Celestial Sect of Wonders. But now, he is actually the leader of the Loki sect. This kid has been harboring evil intentions since the beginning. He'll probably become the second Yin Daosheng in the future." Si Shaoxian was so angry that she started panting. "Elders, Lin Yu has helped us a lot. We can't not repay this favor." Xian Tianzong was also helpless. He had expected this situation. Lin Yu is too strong. If he couldn't be friends with such a person, in this world where martial arts were respected, the best way was to get rid of him. However, he didn't think that the Xian sect could invade the Loki sect without Lin Yu. After all, that kid was too smart. "Old Sect Master, we gave most of the spoils of war to the demonic floating life sect. We've already repaid this favor." "That's right. We don't owe the Loki sect anything." Si Shaoxian was so angry that her face turned black. "If it weren't for him, would you still be here making sarcastic remarks?" Xian Tianzong sighed and said earnestly, "How can we repay the favor of saving our lives? Also, if we were to make trouble at this time, the Xian sect would be disloyal." How could he not understand his daughter's thoughts? He wouldn't touch the Loki sect, whether it was for public or private reasons. "Sect Master." The blacksmith elders below understood what Xian Tianzong meant and wanted to say something in unison. But soon, Xian Tianzong's aura came down. "I'm not dead yet. Can't you hear what I'm saying?" As soon as he finished speaking, everyone below immediately felt their blood boil. For a long time, the great hall of the Celestial Sect of Wonders was in a stalemate. Those elders also knew that it was impossible to attack the low-key sect. Sect Master, we should be able to occupy the floating life demonic sect, right? Xian Tianzong squinted his eyes. Seeing that Si Shaoxian was silent, he was in a terrible mood. Go. Just don't provoke Lin Yu's men. Xian Tianzong was so angry that he had forgotten Lin Yu's warning. With a cold snort, Xian Tianzong left the main hall. Si Shaoxian followed him. The elders looked at each other and shook their heads helplessly. Hurry up and prepare. We will turn the Bliss Life sect upside down. This is also the last resort. Since we can't touch Lin Yu's men, we can only use the Bliss Life demonic sect to pay tribute to the tens of thousands of heroic spirits of our celestial sect. Outside the realm crossing gate that led to the core of the inner area. The moment the discrete sect's warship stepped into the area, it felt a strong, repulsive force. Are you really going to the Emperor's Gate? At the front of the warship, Mei turned her head and asked Lin Yu. It's good to go and have some fun. Hearing Lin Yu's heartless answer, Mei let out a long sigh. I still have the Ghost Gates token. I can bring you and Yang Kai in. No, I want to use another method. Are you crazy? Mei's eyes widened. You want to resist the Realm Guardian's saber? Lin Yu nodded and stared at the crossing gate in front of him. The clouds that were tumbling, like the immortal gate in the sky. At this moment, when Lin Yu's gaze was fixed on it, terrifying footsteps came one after another. What's that sound? Xian Gu, Dongwang Fei Yu, and the others immediately heard the sound. The Realm Guardian. Yang Kai squinted his eyes and looked at Lin Yu. Sect Master, that thing's saber is very powerful. However, Lin Yu leaned on the bow of the warship and looked at the crossing gate in front of him indifferently. The clouds slowly parted, and the thunderous sound was getting closer and closer. Everyone saw the world in front of them gradually dim. They looked up and saw a huge body that was 500 feet tall, breaking through the clouds. The eyes that were taller than a person were looking down. What the hell is this giant? The Law Realm. It has an aura stronger than Yin Daosheng's. Yin Daosheng is already at the peak of the first heaven of the Law Realm. Could this giant be at the second heaven? Besides Lin Yu, Mei, and Yang Kai, everyone else sucked in a breath of cold air. The Realm Guardian's gaze fell on the warship. The warship, which was already half the size of a hill, was now curled up under the giant's feet like a wooden clog. Show me the Emperor's token. A thunderous voice rang out. What is an Emperor's token? Xiangu couldn't help but ask. Even her honored master, Dongwang Fei Yu, could only shake his head. The so-called Emperor's token is the token used by the Emperor's Gate to travel between the inner area and the core area. Lin Yu smiled faintly and looked at the big guy. Not only was there no fear, but there was also some excitement. I think I'll use the token. Mei was about to take out the Ghost Gates token from her storage ring, but Lin Yu grabbed her wrist. Once the Emperor's token appears, the Ghost Gates people will know that you're with me. Do you want me to fight the female puppet so quickly? Hearing this, a rare trace of fear flashed across Mei's pretty face. She had been with Lin Yu and low-profile sect for so long that she had almost forgotten about this. I don't have an Emperor's token. Lin Yu looked up. Hey, big guy, you're really tall. The Realm Guardian's huge eyes widened even more. Take the saber. He raised his right arm and opened his palm. As soon as he said that, the space around the realm traversing gate started to creak. Everyone saw that the sound was concentrated in the Realm Guardian's right hand. At this moment, a huge saber hilt appeared in the void. It matched perfectly with the Realm Guardian's huge hand and was instantly grabbed by him. The next moment, the space behind the Realm Guardian shattered completely. A huge white saber that seemed to be able to split heaven and earth slashed down at Lin Yu. Before the saber's blade arrived, the terrifying saber intent had already set off heavy airwaves, causing everyone to feel the aura of death in their hearts. No, the saber intent has sealed the surrounding space. We can't dodge it. Qin Ji and the others immediately realized that danger was approaching. What a powerful saber intent. Dragon Scale's eyes were filled with desire. His desire for the saber technique realm had made him forget about life and death. He was ready to draw his saber. That was the bloodthirst of saber sealing, and dragon scale was the best among saber sealing. However, when his hand pressed on the dragon scale saber, he could not even pull it out under the pressure of the saber intent. This is a saber seal of the law realm. He was certain that the realm guardian was a saber seal, a terrifying saber seal that was much stronger than him. I told you, you shouldn't have taken this saber. May gritted her teeth. Just as she was about to attack, she was stopped by Lin Yu for the second time. Let me play with you. He smiled faintly. The moment he finished speaking, he was already facing the saber. Chapter 317. He's crazy. May cursed. She knew very well how powerful the Realm Guardian's attack was. Even someone at the second level of the Law Realm would not dare to take this attack head-on. Although Lin Yu was at the Grand Realm, his combat strength was comparable to the Law Realm, but he was only at the first level. He wouldn't be able to withstand this slash. In mid-air, a piercing pain came from beside his ear. Lin Yu's clothes whistled as he raised his right hand. The great Void Yiksha's divine ability aura erupted. In an instant, a huge saber appeared behind Lin Yu. It was a scythe, the Yiksha's scythe. At this moment, the scythe was as big as the Realm Guardian's blade. It's the scythe from back then. Yang Kai and Qin Wunyan recognized it at a glance. Sect Master. Since when did Sect Master have such a terrifying weapon? While everyone was surprised, Maya just wanted to scold Lin Yu, but she swallowed it back down. Divine ability aura. At this moment, outside the realm crossing gate, the white saber and black scythe instantly collided. Boom! The ear-piercing sound of metal colliding was mixed with thunder, lightning, and wind. The Realm Guardian gritted his teeth, realizing that he could not bear to watch this attack anymore. Lin Yu below also gritted his teeth at this moment, blood flowing from the corner of his mouth. This death god crossing gate can fight someone at the second level of the Law Realm. His eyes were filled with excitement, and his heart was not shaken at all by his injuries. Take the second attack. The Realm Guardian's eyes were filled with unwillingness. He raised his arm and held the hilt with both hands at the same time. Wait, isn't there only one attack? May immediately shouted. The rule of the Realm Crossing Gate was that there was only one attack. But now, the Realm Guardian's will to fight had obviously been aroused by Lin Yu's scythe. Let him come. Lin Yu raised his left hand, indicating that May did not need to come up. At the same time, his Grand Realm aura soared into the sky. Lin Yu's whole body was covered in golden light, and his black hair was instantly dyed golden. He also put his hands together, and the Death God's scythe condensed behind him again. The strength of his aura was also much stronger than the first attack. Die! The Realm Guardian looked down with his broadsword. The low-key Sex warship, which was far below, was unable to withstand the shockwave and was constantly retreating. Mei and Yang Kai released their auras at the same time to stabilize the ship. At this moment, they had already raised their heads and saw the black scythe and the white scythe colliding once again. The shockwave instantly increased by dozens of times. With a howl, the clouds covering the realm crossing gate were blown away. On the warship, everyone below the Grand Supreme Realm spat out a mouthful of blood, their spirits dispirited. Too strong. This is simply a battle between second-layer Law Realm experts. Qin Wunyan and the others widened their eyes, and even their breathing became heavy. They finally understood why Lin Yu didn't take them to the core. Now that they had not even entered the door, they had already encountered such a powerful battle. With low-profile Sect's current strength, wouldn't they be courting death if they went in? The fluctuations of the battle gradually disappeared, and everyone heard the sound of hurried footsteps. The footsteps were extremely loud, clearly coming from the Realm Guardian. At this moment, the Realm Guardian took a few steps back. In front of him, Lin Yu's golden body had already dissipated. Even the Death God's scythe on his back was gone. However, Lin Yu was still calm and composed. He stood with his hands behind his back and said in a loud voice, "You've lost." As soon as these words came out, Everyone from low-profile sect was overjoyed. When the Realm Guardian heard this, he was silent for a long time without saying anything. Instead, he turned around and pushed the realm-crossing gate behind him. Golden light burst out from behind the gate. The Emperor Gate's core world had officially opened for Lin Yu. Low-profile sect, I'll leave it to you, Lin Yu said and stepped into the void without looking back. When Mei and Kai Yang saw this, they immediately followed behind. The rest of the people from low-profile sect, led by Qin Ji, looked at the gate Lin Yu and the others entered from afar. That is the Emperor Gate Star Field, where the Real Emperor Gate is located. Let's go back. Only by becoming stronger can we catch up with the sect master. That's right. He has already left us too far behind. Qin Ji, Qin Wunyan, and Dongwang Feiyu expressed their feelings one after another. Their cultivation used to be above Lin Yu's, but now, in the battle that just happened, Lin Yu had shown them the gap between them. The gate to the core slowly closed. At this moment, in the Emperor Gate Star Field, in the 8 huge nebulas floating, the powerhouses all sensed the situation of the Emperor Gate. It's been a long time since someone used this method to enter. Interesting. Not everyone can withstand the Realm Guardian's attack. The divine senses of these 8 people appeared on the Realm Crossing Gate at the same time. However, they could only find each other, but could not find Lin Yu's figure. The opening of the Emperor Gate can't be fake, but where did he go? Strange, there's no reason for it to be so fast. Among the 8 people, only one was silent. After he retracted his divine sense, in the Heavenly Emperor Gate, a young man who looked exactly like Lin Yu slowly opened his eyes. You're here, very good. In the Emperor Gate Star Field, a teleportation array was at least 100,000 feet away from the Realm Crossing Gate. The figures of Lin Yu and the other 2 slowly appeared. Sect Master, you even know about the hidden teleportation array in the Emperor Gate Star Field. Yang Kai looked at Lin Yu in a daze. As soon as he entered, before he could react, he was directly pulled into the teleportation array by Lin Yu. At this moment, he also realized that he was extremely far away from the Realm Crossing Gate. Now, in front of the 3 of them was a nebula. Above the nebula, beautiful and long zither music could be heard from time to time. We've arrived at the Zither Emperor Gate. Let's go down. After Lin Yu said that, he saw Mei holding his hand. You don't have to take that slash, and could just come in, right? Mei stared at Lin Yu suspiciously. You even know about the hidden teleportation arrays in the Emperor Gate Star Field. Who exactly are you? Lin Yu blinked his eyes and smiled helplessly. I can't tell you that I've been trapped on the same day for 100,000 years, and that I've explored everything here for more than 30 million days and nights, right? You'll know the secret in the future, Lin Yu said casually. Before Mei could say anything, she heard a few auras rushing up from below. They were 3 guards in silver armor, and they were staring at Lin Yu and the other 2 vigilantly. Who has come to my Zither Emperor Gate? Under Lin Yu's teleportation, the 3 of them had already arrived at the Zither Emperor Gate, the home of the girl riding the koan. I'm just paying a visit. Paying a visit? The guards looked at each other. None of them knew Lin Yu. The 3 of them were all of the Grand Realm, and their auras were all above 300. Naturally, they didn't put Lin Yu's 100 Grand Realm cultivations in their eyes. My Zither Emperor Gate doesn't welcome idle people. You should scram. Hearing this, Yang Kai and Mei were originally from the Emperor Gate. After returning, their faces immediately darkened, and their arrogance surged up again. On the other hand, Lin Yu smiled amiably. Zhang Dao, your young master ordered you to wait for me here. Is this how you treat your guests? Chapter 3:18. You are. The leader of the guards was called Zhang Dao. When he heard Lin Yu's words, his expression immediately changed. If you continue speaking, I'm afraid you'll lose your life. Lin Yu closed his eyes, looking like he didn't care if he died or not. Hearing this, Zhang Dao couldn't help but swallow the words he was about to say. I was negligent. He glanced at his own people on both sides. Brother Dao, what is the background of this brat? Shut up. Zhang Dao roared angrily, then turned to Lin Yu and carefully sized him up. Only then did he realize that Lin Yu was only 15 or 16 years old, but he already had a similar cultivation as him. There's no mistake. This person is definitely ranked high on the blacklist. He's the person young master is waiting for. The reason why Zhang Dao was so sure in his heart was because of Lin Yu's temperament. Even though his cultivation wasn't as strong as his, he still looked down on him. He was like a superior person like the young master. Young master, this is not the place to talk. Why don't we go down first? Zhang Dao smiled politely. Lead the way. Lin Yu snorted coldly and bypassed Zhang Dao. Although he said he was leading the way, in reality, he was leading the way. When this scene fell into Yang Kai and Mei's eyes, the two of them were shocked and dumbfounded. Your sect master knows the others from the Emperor's Gate? Mei couldn't help but ask in a low voice. Shaking his head, Yang Kai felt like it was the first day he met Lin Yu. I don't know. The six of them flew down from the sky, bypassing layer after layer of thick nebulae before finally seeing the true appearance of the Zither Emperor's Gate. It was a colossus of hundreds of huge cities connected together. Although it was called a sect, this was clearly a country. When Lin Yu and the other two arrived, they kept hearing the refreshing and pleasant Zither music. The Zither Emperor's Gate was the territory of the Zither Emperor's descendants. This was the first time Mei and Yang Kai had come here, and they already felt that the Zither music seemed to have the effect of promoting cultivation. This Zither music hasn't been changed for many years. The aesthetic sense is already very poor. Just as the two of them were enjoying the Zither music, they heard Lin Yu's critical voice. If it had been someone else, or if Lin Yu hadn't revealed his identity, he would have said those words. He was afraid that the three guards had already made their move. But now, Zhang Dao, who was leading the group, knew the other party's identity. He could only nod in agreement. Young master is right. We've listened to this song for many years. We're sick of it. Lin Yu was still dissatisfied. If it weren't for the fact that I don't have a good zither right now, I would have some inspiration to improvise a song. Hearing that, the other two guards couldn't help but feel disdain in their hearts. This is the Zither Emperor sect. If you want to brag here, then forget it. But you really want to compose a song? Brother Dao, is this kid crazy? The guard beside him said in a low voice. Shut up, what do you know? Zhang Dao angrily glared at the two lackeys, scaring them into silence. They secretly wondered if Zhang Dao had gone crazy today. Why would he suddenly be so polite to a 15-year-old brat? Could it be that young master really has some ideas about our lingering zither music? Zhang Dao asked tentatively. He nodded and smiled. It's not an idea, but an improvement. After I'm done, I might let your Zither Emperor sect use a new song in the future. After Lin Yu finished speaking, Zhang Dao hurriedly took a deep breath. If that was really the case, then it would be a great contribution to the entire sect. But there's no good zither here. Fine, let your young master come to see me and bring a better zither. Hearing that, Zhang Dao naturally didn't dare to be negligent. This little one will do immediately. The six of them landed in one of the cities. Sir, I'll immediately take you to the guest hall. You can wait for the young master there. No need. Lin Yu suddenly refused, giving Zhang Dao a bad premonition. I'll go to the second floor. I'll go find him when I'm done playing. Lin Yu said, ignoring Zhang Dao, who was in a daze, and walked away. Sect master, where are we going now? Yang Kai and Mei hurriedly followed. The former asked, This is not the inner territory. There's no need to call me sect master. Lin Yu rubbed his chin. If he called him sect master and added his face, it would be bad if the Heavenly Emperor's sect spies were here and mistook him for the Heavenly Emperor. Young master, where are we going? Yang Kai changed his words. The second floor is a good place. Speaking of which, in the Zither Emperor's sect, there are many places for scholars to play. Mei glanced at Lin Yu. No wonder you said you wanted to come here first, pervert. Did you misunderstand something? Lin Yu felt that he was very innocent. But in the next moment, Mei's two white wrists were already wrapped around one of Lin Yu's hands. I don't care if I see you flirting with women and do anything to hurt them. I'll pretend to be your wife just like that time at the gambling house. Lin Yu's face was full of black lines. Why would you do that? I'm afraid you'll harm innocent women, Mei said through gritted teeth. Yang Kai cursed in his heart. Why did he have to travel with these two? As the two of them whispered sweet nothings to each other along the way, Yang Kai felt that his sword Dao had regressed quite a bit, and he was becoming more and more haggard. Finally, the golden signboard of the second floor appeared in front of the three. Is this the place where the cultured and refined people play? Before May entered, she could already hear the constant chatter coming from inside. Lin Yu nodded before turning to look at Yang Kai. Feeling a little surprised, left Envoy Yang. Why do you look so haggard? Yang Kai's face twitched. Ever since my late wife left, Yang Kai was still lamenting in his heart, but Lin Yu finally realized that there was a living person beside him. But just as he was about to reply, he saw that Lin Yu had already entered the second floor. Yang Kai immediately felt bitter and swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. He silently followed Lin Yu and Mei into the second floor. In a large hall in the city where Lin Yu was, Zhang Dao hurriedly passed through the guards and arrived outside the hall. He knelt down and bowed. Reporting to young master, you. Zhang Dao looked at the people on both sides. The two of you can leave first. After the miscellaneous people left, Zhang Dao said cautiously, young master, the person you're waiting for is here. Inside the main hall, the sounds of women's voices could be heard, and it was impossible to tell what was going on inside. However, Zhang Dao, who was outside the main hall, could not help but feel his body burn with lust whenever he heard it. He's here so soon? Soon, the women's voices in the hall stopped, leaving only a male and female voice that was slightly out of breath. Guard Zhang, are you sure this is the person this young master is waiting for? You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.